Hey, everybody. We are still having technical difficulties, unfortunately. We're going to see if we can't get John's camera to work, as right now it still does not look like it's working. But thank you for coming in. I know that we've got over 40 people watching, and you almost got 20 likes on here already. So I appreciate everybody hanging out. But let's see. I can tell that John's camera's not working, but his audio is working great. Hey, John.
Yes, I don't know what's going on. I'm the worst at computers, so I don't know why this is not working.
Man, we need to have like a picture of you up here while you're just a disembodied voice.
And I even put a shirt on, so now I can't believe this is.
Yeah, I mean, we've already tried the you went back in your settings and it's still
it's
showing up, but it's not working for you. Oh, every time he goes into settings, it knocks him off as well.
Yeah, all right. I don't know.
Well,
I don't. It's not working.
We can do it this way. We're all prepped and ready to go.
It's up to you. No, it's up to you. People have seen me before. It's no big deal.
All right. I don't mind. I mean, this is a first for me, though. So
of course, it had to happen to me. So,
well, we've known each other for a very long time, John. So
yes,
these things can happen, and it's all right. I mean, I don't have a problem doing it like this. Yes, Lyle says the invisible guest. That's all right. Yeah, no problem. You can just
and the art is the only important thing.
That's right. So yeah, everybody's giving you lots of tech. Oh, so we didn't get a chance to talk for the show. Make sure that you have your tab on the right hand side set to comments and not live or a private chat, because the comments are the comment stream that comes in from the live stream. I'm not starting a podcast. Yep. So you can see they're offering you suggestions on how to fix things, but bang it on the desk, says CJ. Yeah, that's probably not a wise way to go, but yeah, phones. I have had people use their phones.
Wow. Excuse me.
I have had people use their phones to do this before, but it's usually better.
Oh God, no! Let's just. I'm the worst at doing this computer stuff. We got to go. Let's just talk and let the pictures do all the viewing.
All right. Well, we always try to get your origin stories and stuff out first. So as many people know, John, John's had a CAF gallery. Gosh, when did you start your CAF gallery? I've got it open here on the side. In 2009, but you've been collecting for a long time, and you're a comic book professional too. So what came first, the desire to collect original art, or the desire to create original art?
Yes. So I've been collecting comics. I got into comics when I turned around 4 years old. So I've been in the comics forever, and just that spiraled into collecting everything, whether it was toys or anything comic book. I mean, I was just, it was just out of control. So I didn't start drawing until the end of 10th grade. And I was like, all right, because I was going to start writing comics, and I was doing it with a buddy of mine at school who was a really good artist, but he got sick of me asking him to fix stuff. So I was like, you draw it yourself. And I was like, all right, I guess people do it. So whatever, I'll just do it. And I started just drawing. And so my first page I bought was out of a classified ad in the back of Comics Buyer's Guide. And that was in sometime in 1989. And that was the Justice League International page 11, where Guy flies off. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what it was. I had no idea pages were drawn that size. It just said, I loved that book when it came out. It was so different, and McGuire's art was so vastly different than anything else that was coming out than John Byrne or Frank Miller or any of those other guys I love, like Ross Andrew or Romita Jr. And it was funny, which comic books weren't laugh out loud funny. So that was interesting. And I was like, all right, I'll try it. I don't know. I had to get my mom to write me a check, and you had to mail it in and all that stuff. And it shows up, and I was like, wow, this is, I finally figured out. I was like, wow, this is the one they did for the book, and this is this size. And I finally figured that out. I had no idea.
And now, when you made the purchase, though, was it a text-only ad in the Comic Buyer's Guide, or did it actually have a photograph?
No, it was just text. It just, it was this issue, this page. And again, I had no idea what I was going to get. I blindly sent the money in because I was a kid and whatever, so I just sent it in. And unfortunately, that started another massive addiction. So I got that, and it just started getting pages. So it just started
Do you
working.
remember who you bought it off of?
Nope, no, it was some ad. I have a really good memory of a lot of that stuff from back then, of who I bought it from or how or what, but that was just a random ad I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you're 16 ish, and you picked that up. So then and you didn't want to draw comics, you wanted to write comics at that point. So
at that point, yeah, but after my friend angrily just stormed off, I had to draw the stories I wrote, so I just started doing it, and it worked out. So, but it would have been swell to start like any of these other guys that are pros. They started drawing, they were 4 or 5 or in the womb, like these guys like to say, I've been drawing since I was in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
But I just practiced, man. I put my 10,000 hours in just a few years, and I got work like when I was 22, so it wasn't too long. I started getting pro work right when I was 22. So
wow.
If I would have started as a little kid like everyone else did, who knows? I could have had the Joe Madrera story where they were waiting until I graduated high school until I could start work the next day. So who knows?
Right.
maybe not. I don't know.
Well, that's well. So you were working professionally by what? So 91, 92,
93,
93,
1993. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. And one of the pieces on the list that I sent you was the piece that Dan Lawless did for this trading card set. There was all the new companies popped up. Everyone had a company, so it was Majestic Comics, and yep, that piece right there. And Dan, I met Dan. I lived just outside Detroit. I grew up on 8 Mile, and then we moved over to 15 Mile. If anyone lives around, they know it's all in miles. But I was good friends with Kirk Jarvinen, and I met him in 1991, and he had, I was always really good. That was my superpower, was even though I was a little kid and I was super tiny, I had no fear of going up and talking to all these guys about anything. And I was really good about talking at shows and being cool and everything. So I became friends with Kirk. He taught me a ton about art. He was so nice and put up with my constant questions and just nonstop calling him. And then, but he lived far away. That was the thing. I think he lived in Flint. I think it was a good 2 hours from where I lived. So he introduced me to Dan Lawless, which Dan only lived maybe 10 minutes from my house. He lived over in Grosse Pointe. So it was really close. And then, I was inking, and he's like, here, why don't you ink these 9 trading cards? And he got me my very first pro job I think it was the summer of 93. So it was great. I was like, I'm working and I got paid to do this, and it was super cool. And even cooler, after I moved from Detroit, I moved to California where I am now. And I had, like anything, you move, and I had lost touch with Dan and a lot of the guys. And I don't know, maybe it was like 2010 or 11. I was on some random clicking on some forum, and they were talking about Superman, and I saw Dan's name on there. I was like, there's no way this is him. And I wrote him on there, and it was. And then we started talking, off there. And the next time I visited back home for, I think it was Christmas, he didn't live too far from my family again. And I went over and saw him, and he shockingly still had this original. And he was so nice and generous. He gave it to me. So that was the coolest thing. I still have it, so I would never get rid of it. So it was like my very first piece. I was so shocked he still had it.
Wow. And that's pretty cool. I mean, so how many years later was this?
Oh, that I saw him? Yeah. I mean, it must have been 2011. It was somewhere back. It was about 10, 12 years ago, something like that.
Wow.
So just, that's what happens, man. You go on these things, and, I just got back in touch with Kirk a couple months ago. He just disappeared. And I was at the Motor City Comic Con in May, and Jason Moore was there, and I was like, dude, you still talk to him? He's like, yeah. So I got his number, and I literally, he was just texting me yesterday. So I think he's watching. I think he might be watching. I know Dan's watching. He called me this morning, so he should be watching.
So I think when you wrote me, you had talked about this page being related in some way to that other sketch.
To Kirk? Yeah. So Kirk, the whole thing, like Kirk is how I met Dan.
Yeah.
So This Spidey sketch was that's how I met Kirk. I met him at a Dearborn in Dearborn, Detroit, at a Comic-Con, and this is the first sketch I got from it, and this is one of my favorite pieces. It might not be everyone else's cup of tea, but I loved it. I thought it was so overly cartoony, and Kirk and I have a deep, deep love for Michael Golden, and he even showed me, or he got me hooked on all this other Michael Golden stuff I wasn't aware of at the time, like always like covers and this and that. So it was great. I love this piece. I still have it. I would never sell it. And I'm always I have a big, big sticking point about Spider-Man's eyes. And I have a certain way I like them. And there's certain guys I really, really like that do them. And if there's a piece or a page or whoever, if I don't dig the eyes, I can't get into it. So it just, I love this piece. And it was great. Kirk taught me, like I said, he put up a lot of, phone calls and phone calls and phone calls and phone calls. And thank you, Ken. Yes. So he was just the nicest guy and gave me tons and tons and tons of Xeroxes for me to practice my inking and just practice. And I still have all that stuff. And Kirk was doing such cool stuff back then. It was very fun. And again, he was overly patient with me.
Well, that's great. So you knew going in that you were more focused on being an inker than
yes. And I'm sure, just like I'm sure almost every inker probably was going towards, my penciling was just dreadful. I will not sugarcoat it. I'm probably the worst penciler there is. And like I said, I started really late. So, I was just nonstop trying to squeeze my 10,000 hours into practice in a few years. And I just was practicing. My high school art teacher it was pointless going to that. And just when I went to the Kubert school, and I had to submit a portfolio, which was, I'm not making this up, it was as dreadful as possible, and I'm pretty sure I got in because the check cleared. So they took pity on me. I was stunned I got in, and I waited a year after I graduated because another good friend of mine, Scott, was going to go with me. It was embarrassing how good he was. He was so young, and it was annoying. He was so good, and he's just whipping out these pieces. Oh, I did this. And even when we were at Kubert school, we went at the same time. We stayed in the same house. They had 3 different houses for the Kubert offsite. If you lived far enough away, you had to stay in one of the houses. So since we were from Michigan, we both stayed there. We, roomed in we had the same big room, and I'd be sweating it out every night doing all this homework. And my proportions took forever to get anything close to even right, or doing this and doing that. He wouldn't do anything. He'd be sitting there mowing away Domino's pizza and drinking soda all night and watching TV. And then we would go to class the next morning. And in the old building they had for the school across the street, there was this like diner and deli or something. So he would go across the street, have this. Hi, sweetheart. Hi, sweetheart.
Is the dog back here?
Okay, can I talk? Can we do this for a little bit, sweetheart?
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Camera's not on. The camera's not working.
Go talk.
Okay, go play.
Hi.
Okay, say hi to Bill.
Are you friend?
Yes, this is my friend Bill.
How's it going?
Hey, okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna talk about Spidey and Hulk. Okay, you go Hulk smash in the other room. Thank you. Yeah, she's 5, so I'm surprised she hadn't come in earlier. So
no problem.
Yes, so the morning we all had to put our assignments up on the board for it all get critiqued, and Scott would go across the street, have a massive breakfast, come back, and do his assignment 5-10 minutes before class, and it was the best one. It was colossally annoying how good he was at that age, and he just draw this stuff out. And so I started, when we got done with Kubert school, we moved back home, and I was like, all right, we'll put a studio together. I was improving weekly or monthly with my inks. My penciling was just, I'm drawing it, and watching Scott draw was just making me very sad. And it shouldn't have, but it was really hard watching him be so good. And I just was getting better and better at the inking. I was like, you know what? Let's just start a studio. We'll be a combo team. That's what they got nowadays, because that was right in 92. And everyone was doing that with, Jim Lee and Scott Williams and Wilson Art and all the guys, they had their inkers and this is that. So we were doing that for a while. And then we got a friend of ours to come and be a colorist. And he actually started getting coloring work with Shadowline. He was coloring a bunch of Jim Valentino's books for Image. So, we had a good thing going for a while.
That's great. And so throughout this period, are you still collecting art, or did you?
Oh yeah, no, I'm working. I had my part-time job or whatever, and the difference is back then, as you know, stuff was very, very, very affordable. I could go, to a local con, or I could go, and that's still in the Classifieds and Comics Buyer Guide, and just buy pages for $1, $5. You could get good stuff, but you had to be quick. You had to jump. And I remember when I was getting stuff, when I had to either drive home from school or take the bus, and the bus dropped me off way, way, way down the street from my house. Every Friday, I'd be running to the mailbox to go get that issue of Comics Buyers Guys, because if you missed that phone call, you weren't going to get that page. So I did get a lot of stuff, but you still missed out on a lot of pages.
Right. Well, there was all the different strategies with the Comic Buyer's Guide. Guys had.
Oh yeah, and then I found this out later. Like Scott Dunbar was telling me this stuff. Like guys were getting Comics Buyer's Guide FedExing them the night before or the day before, and they just buy all the stuff. And then I luckily did get a lot of the stuff I was looking for, so it worked out. And for me, being just a kid I think I was working at Montgomery Ward at the time. And, whatever money I had that wasn't going to my ridiculous amount of comics I was buying, because comics came out on Friday back then, to buy out and stuff. So I managed to get, I was very fortunate. I got the pages I got.
And over the years, do you sell a lot, or have you kept pretty much most of the things you bought?
I sold a few, not a lot. And everyone, every collector has these dumb stories like, oh, I should have sold that. And I only sold a few pages, but of course the ones I sold were now crazy, going for some crazy money. Like I think I had page 10 from Death, the Captain Marvel graphic novel. And I had a really nice page from the Marvel 209 Annual 2 by Starlin. The one page where Thor and Thing get blasted at the top of the page, and the bottom Spidey's climb out of the machinery. And
dang.
Those are the ones. I had a Jim Lee page from X-Men, but it was nice, but it wasn't anything super crazy that I'm just banging my head against the wall about. But that stuff happens, and you just just like you sell old comics, you sell art. But those are the only couple real significant ones I did. So
I know
I should have, because I know those pages.
I was going to say, you've picked a lot of artworks to look at tonight. You're 18, like I do with everybody, but not a whole lot of golden artwork though. And I know that that's somebody who's you've collected a lot of. I was kind of curious why.
I wanted to make sure and get the spectrum of everyone. I mean,
sure.
I didn't want to pick 5 golden pages. That would be, I would think, and you tell me if I'm not trying to brag, but I would think I got one of the better golden collections.
Yeah, no. I mean, that I would agree. That's and so I was thinking, oh well, we're going to get a lot of goldens, and then we didn't. But that's okay. I was just curious because obviously you've focused a bit on his artwork. Yes,
and I wanted to make sure each piece I sent you had an interesting story to go along with it.
Oh yeah,
and that page the Batman page I sent you does have a good story to go along with it. So
awesome. So even though, so what happened with the studio? I mean, you did that for a few years before you moved out to the West Coast?
Yes. Because I moved to California in the beginning of I think it was January 3rd of 1997. So it was a Saturday night. I drove my tiny little U-Haul down, and I think I had $700 in my pocket. And I was already working. I was doing a lot of stuff for Marvel and other studios, and I was doing stuff for Marvel, and I was doing stuff for Lightning Comics, because they were a Detroit-based comic company, and they were hot at the time with Blood something. I forget their character had HIV or something like that, and they had Lightning Comics like Creed and all that stuff. So I was doing stuff for them, and there was another Michigan or Detroit. It was a good comic state. There was like, I think, wasn't Caliber out of there?
I'm not sure, but I think you're right though.
Yeah, and there was the other, was Caliber the one that did the Arrow and the Realm?
You're gonna make me Google this, aren't you?
I know, it doesn't matter. But yeah, there was a lot. Michigan was a good comic book state, not just for great comic shops and comic artists. A lot of comic creators came out of Michigan, a ton. So I was doing that, and I started working for Extreme for Rob Liefeld and Matt Hawkins, and I was doing stuff for them and doing more and more. And they just told me like, hey, because everyone had to FedEx everything. It's like, if you're here, we'll give you more work. And I was like, well, it's great, but that's a big decision to move across the country for, I don't know what to do. I was still young. Mm-hmm. And I had met Joe Weems that summer of '96 coming up when I went to San Diego Comic-Con, and we hit it off. We're talking, and he had me help me on, he was doing The Rook for Harris Comics, and he needed help in a couple of pages. So I did a couple. And we just talked some more and talking. And then I got a call about coming in to Wildstorm. And it's a stupid story, but so
we want to hear it.
Yeah, I know, whatever. I'm a big dope, so everyone can have a laugh about this. So I get a call. I was, still living with my folks, and Jim Lee calls me, and I was pretty sure it was my buddies goofing on me. And I was, he calls, I was like, yeah, sure it is. Okay. And I just click, I hang up. And, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds later, the phone calls again. And he's like, why'd you? He's like, all right, it's you, so talk to him. And they wanted to have me come down for the intern program or, move in to do that stuff. And I was like, well, that's a big decision. Can I have a couple of days to think about it? He's like, yeah. Well, I think about it. And I was like, whatever. I love Wildstorm. I love all the Image guys. Like, I'll just do it. Had no idea if it would work out. I call back. Jim didn't remember calling me, so that went nowhere. So I was all irked about it. I was like, all right, I made the decision to go to move out there. So I called Joe. From speaking to him recently, I knew he needed a roommate. His roommate, our friend Jergy, was moving out. And I was like, you know what, dude? I go, if you still need a roommate, I think this is the middle of December. I go, I'll be there in like 3 weeks. He's like, really? I go, yep. I go, I'll drive out there. And I did, much to my mom not wanting me to leave. I did. And I had no idea if it would work out. I really thought for sure I'd be back home in 3 or 4 months. I had no idea. But got there that Saturday. And I got there 2 days early because I just didn't feel like waiting because I guess I didn't think I had enough money to pay for a motel. I just wanted to just get there. And I show up late Saturday night, and Joe was there, and Marco Galli, which you had on the show. He was there. He was assistant Joe, and I met Marco right away, and a couple other guys were at the condo, and I moved in, and that was Saturday, and I started helping Joe like within like 2 or 3 days on helping on panels right away from the Devil's Reign stuff, that Marvel Top Cow crossover. So I did a bunch of stuff on just random panels and pages he had. And then that Friday, Joe, I didn't have a car, so Joe drove me to Extreme Studios so I could meet the guys and start getting stuff. And he dropped me off, which I now I think about it was crazy because I had no idea how to get home. Hey, Scott. So I get there, and it was pandemonium because they had to finish. Avengers 6 had to literally go to the printer that night. They had to go get it finished, get it on a disc, put it in the FedEx envelope, and send it off to the printer. And it was crazy. I'm watching these guys. Everyone's running around, and I'd never seen this before. They took an Ian, and I don't think they're going to care I'm telling this, but it's so long ago. But they took an Ian Churchill page, cut it up, and just randomly handed panels to people to ink. And I was like, and I'm looking, I was like,
taped it all back together, right?
Yeah. And I was like, what is going on? And I was like, all right, I didn't want it because they were like, it was just crazy. Like they're all running around, jumping, from room to room. And I was just,
well, you got to do what you got to do. Fortunately,
yeah. And so
you had a whole crew of inkers there that could do that.
Yep. I found Hawkins, and he gave me my pages to take with me, and I couldn't leave. So I just had to stay there for a while. And, I met Stephen Platt and all the guys. Stephen wasn't inking that stuff, so he was there. And I got to meet him, and I went in his studio for a little bit. And eventually I called Joe. He came back and got me a few hours later. But, yeah. So, it was crazy. And I was off to the races. I had gone from doing a nice amount of pages every month to doing 2 issues of Evangeline a month on top of doing random Top Cow helping. So it was nuts. And then I finished working for Extreme the end of March, and I jumped right into Top Cow, and I was at Top Cow for 5 years.
So when you were doing that much work, how hard was it to kind of keep track of what you were owed, to be paid and everything?
Remember, you just remember, you always remember. Yeah. I only was never not paid for a gig. And that was the last stuff I did for London Night Studios. That was like 96 or something like that. But whatever, that stuff. Every comic book artist I've been working for a long time has had at least one of those incidents.
Sure.
So,
see, Marcus is asking the thing.
Yes.
The question that was in my head was, who has that page? I mean, there's a collector out there that has the Churchill page that's all cut up and taped back together, and they've probably always wondered why that was. I
have a stellar memory with that stuff, especially comics and comic art and all. I do not remember what that page looked like because I didn't get to hold it or look at it for more than 3 seconds before they were just randomly just passing the panels back and forth.
Sure. That's
thank you, Dan.
Oh man, I can't even imagine. But again, that's what happened with deadlines, right? Sometimes things get that crazy.
Yeah. And you know what? It's comics. It's the only way comics are. Everything is right to the wire. Everything is late to beyond late. And you just, Mark Silvestri said something that is to go along with this. We had a meeting in the pit one time. And he's like, look, I know it's hard. Everything's right to the wire. It was something along these lines where like, you're always tired. You always could use more sleep, but there'll always be another page that needs help. And you know what? It's just comics. That's the way it is. And you just will do it. And you can always sleep later. It's comics. That's right. So it's and also I had been buying art from Scott. This is a little side thing. Scott's known me since I was a kid, since I was like 18 or something. I've been buying art from Scott forever.
So, well, Scott got many collectors started in the hobby. That's for sure.
Yes.
Being out there in the
Albert and Scott. I was buying stuff from them forever.
Yeah. Well, Scott's got a good gig now with IDW, but it's true.
Yeah. Scott's the best. He takes my phone calls when I want to chat. He's very nice to me.
But it's true. If you talk to any collector from the late 80s or early 90s, I mean, everybody bought something from Scott because he was at a lot of shows. He traveled.
He had like those guys had the best stuff.
Yeah. Coin flips. That's right, Marcus. I always forget about Scott and his coin flips. So,
I didn't actually participate in those, but I've heard all the stories.
Dave Rash says John Zink's on the Legion 39 cover is
thank you.
Yeah, you must see the original to truly appreciate his inks.
Yes, yeah. Dave was incredibly. He bought all my Legion stuff. I mean, like he has every page that I got back in the art split. He was incredible. I mean, he's the biggest Legion fan, and he hit me up before we even started working on the title. He's like, I need everything. And I was like, all right. So I was like, you got it, man. And get these, I'm glad he's on here. I haven't talked to him in a very long time, so I'm glad he's still he's still interested in this stuff. He was super nice. Always great to talk to.
So as an artist, have you ever been repped, or you've always done your own sales?
Yeah, I when I was doing the Flash with Howard Porter, Spencer Beck was repping Howard, and Howard just told me, I was like, all right, whatever. And I was with Spencer for a bunch of years, and Spencer was great. He sold a bunch of stuff, and there's a few pages I was shocked that he got like some pretty good money for. I was like, oh, all right, that's cool. And then I stopped using a rep, I think when we had the last recession, like what was that, 2009 or 8 or something?
Yeah, 2008.
And everyone that Spencer called me, he's like, everyone's cutting their prices. I was like, nope. I go, take every single thing off. take every one of my pages off the site. I go, I'm not doing that. And I think me, Howard, and one other guy were the only people that did not participate in that fire sale. So
I think I kind of remember that too. I think I picked up some art from Spencer.
Yep, and Spencer was like shocked. He's like, "Are you?" I was like, "Yep." I go, "Take everything down." I go, "It's nothing against you, but I go, I'll just keep it." And I have. I'm literally looking. I'm turning my head. I have 8 large FedEx boxes, completely filled. Each box is packed, filled to the brim with originals.
John, we should have a show sometime. We could sell some of your old originals. But are they, or do you kind of treat you would be selling all that if you had somebody out there or time to scan it all, I imagine. But
it's not. I do hang on to everything. But as people know who have bought stuff off me, if they reach out to me and like, hey, do you have page 10 from Spider Girl 33? Mm-hmm. And if I have it, yeah, I'll sell it. I mean, I have a little envelope of never selling. And, but yeah, if they reach out to me and do it, that's fine. It's cool. And then when I go to shows, I generally bring a very, very small stack of stuff. But I'm such a collector. I have too many, if anyone's seen my Twitter, I have too many comics. And, it's just, and again, just the good fortune of, having a job since 7th grade, and everything back then didn't cost anything.
No, I get you. So that's why David, I said, well, so that's why David over here said art or comics, if you had to choose, for his collecting.
I think it would have to be a choice of room and space. It's just, comic boxes take up a lot of room and they're heavy compared to just bringing one portfolio of artwork or 2 portfolios, and you can put that up to the side. But I don't know, man. Aaron Lopresti and I have had this conversation many, many times because he's a massive, serious collector too of comics, is that we have toyed around with the idea of selling every comic we have. I've got a lot of great stuff, and just putting that money into 1 or 2 major keys and just having that one book instead of having 20. Oh, bye, Scott. Bye, Scott. Instead of having 15 or 40,000 comic books. And I think about that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, they take up so much space, right?
Exactly. And then you could have your 1 or 2 books, and, they could either just get put in somewhere on a shelf, or you can put it in a safety deposit box or whatever, So it's definitely, I think it comes down to how much space you have. And believe me, my wife is immensely tolerant of all my stuff.
Well, that's
all
really
my
nice
stuff. Yeah. And my daughter is great too. She is 5 now, and I don't think she's grabbed anything in my studio. I really am baffled. I was like worried about it for years, and I don't know. She's really good. She hasn't grabbed the page, or I don't know.
She didn't try coloring any one of them in, or anything?
No. She likes watching me. She likes watching me fill in blacks on pages I'm doing, and I was doing some Nubia pages for DC, and she's very, very concerned about what color Nubia's fingernails were, and I was like, I don't know. It's like, yes. So
that's funny. Chris Abel said, first met John 7 or 8 years ago. Very nice guy at cons and always willing to talk to fans.
Yes, I was talking with Chris for a long time at WonderCon a few months ago. No, he's a good dude. So, if you see me at a con, I could talk about this nonsense all day long, and I have a ridiculous amount of knowledge and history about this stuff that no one could care about. So I could talk about comics and rare comics and whatever artwork and this and that. I mean, I could talk about it all the time.
Well, that's I've always found you very approachable, John. I think probably the first time I went to San Diego, you were there. So
yeah, I'm the greatest guy.
There, even Khalil just said it. John, it's kind of nice. Kinda.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, kind of nice. I don't know if I'm as polite on the phone when I'm on the phone with him.
Oh, Khalil's got your number then, huh?
Yes.
Well, Khalil has a very nice collection. I'm sure he's probably picked up a few pieces.
Oh yeah, no, he was snagging a bunch of I think Chris Pacello stuff for me over the last couple of years. So
Yeah, there was a question from Dan Lawless.
yes,
As he's a fan of Chris's work too. And can you talk about inking over Chris?
yeah, it's super cool, man. I mean, there's no one. I'm not Bill. I don't know. You tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's anyone that can copy the Bocello stuff. I mean, it is uniquely unique, and it's great. It's super cool, and it's funny because sometimes the issues are late, and we're just going through pages, and every single time Chris will ask me, "I don't know. Are you going to be able to get it done?" And I was like, "Yeah." I go, "Just get me the page. I get it done." I go. And I do it. I kind of do it just to bust his chops. So I go, "It's just shapes." He's like, "All right," and but it's gorgeous stuff. I love it. And weirdly enough, he moved, and he only lived like 25 minutes from me where I am now. So, he usually has a bunch of guys inking him because it takes a while to do this stuff. And I was the only guy, I think, out of that group that never blue lined anything because he would text me around 10:30 each morning. He's like, "I'll be done in 25 minutes. It would take me 20, 30 minutes to drive there. I go there, the page be done. I go back home. I start out, I have it done that night. So I never got blue lines for a couple years. It was awesome. So, but no, his stuff's great. The one funny thing, like when he would FedEx stuff, or my wife doesn't know anything about this stuff. I mean, literally nothing. Only if I just give her the check and she knows it's either Marv or DC. And I would, to kind of get her irked, I'd show her a Bocello page that I hadn't inked yet. I go, "What's on here?" And she's like, and she's staring. She's like, "I don't know. You guys are crazy. I gotta go. I gotta go." It is, but yeah, it's gorgeous stuff. I love it. It's really good. And Chris is a good dude. He's very nice. I haven't talked to him for like 2 months, but we should have some pretty good phone calls.
Oh, that's cool. I love Chris's work. Do I have any pieces by him? I have a couple pieces by him now, but I used to have a lot more. And no, I love his style. I mean, there's nothing else like it.
Nope, that's the thing, man. He's uniquely unique.
There you go. Oh, Khalil says Townsend, Bay, Mendoza, Chris himself, and John, the inking committee.
Yep.
Tatiana has arrived to heckle you.
Oh,
you can't heckle him face to face though, Tatiana, because his camera's not working, unfortunately.
Yes,
tonight.
and I know I'm such a dolt when it comes to this computer stuff, and we tried doing this before it started, so it's not like I'm just doing this purposely.
Right? We rebooted.
I put a shirt on. I actually brushed my hair. Yep.
Oh man. Let's see. I think did I miss one question here? Mr. Easy Go Lucky asked what reps usually take. I mean, typically it's like in the 20% range. I think is more common than 30%.
Honestly, I don't remember what Spencer took. It was probably 20, I guess. I don't remember. I don't know. Usually if you're doing that stuff, if you know what the percentage is, like if I got a guy now and his percentage was whatever, 20, 30%, you always tack that on to what you want to get.
Right.
So, it's like, don't you see pages? It's weird. Like this one's like $535. Why would it be 30? So that's what usually happens.
Right. Well, it makes sense. I mean, even when you're putting stuff in an auction house and you're going to get charged.
Exactly. Yep.
Whether it's a fixed price or a reserve.
Yes, exactly.
You always got to take that into account.
Yep.
And Tatiana did confirm 20% is the average. Yeah, that's
all right.
That was
she she would know. She
would definitely know. So currently, what are you working on today?
Literally today, I'm doing a Mike Bowden sent me a Batman pinup that I am slowly pecking away, and I'm like 80% done with it. But like I was gone all weekend, and like the previous weekend, I did that Steve Wyatt con up in San Jose.
I saw you. Yeah. Marcus sent us a video clip of it, and I saw you in the video.
So that was a great, and weirdly enough, out of all the cons I did this year, WonderCon, San Diego, the Motor City show, I did the best at that show for being only 7 hours, and I was in and out in 24 hours. I flew in that night and I left the next night, but I did the best that show. So you never know, So, and I hadn't seen, it was just me, like, I think Tony Harris and I were the most current dudes, and I've been friends with Tony forever, and I hadn't seen him in like 15 years. And I was the last person to fly in. Steve got me, he took me right to dinner with them, and Tony's like, oh my God, you grew up. And he goes like, we haven't seen each other in so long. So I love talking shop and tools with Tony. Like he still does everything by hand. And just, we were like going back and forth about like, how do you throw this line and this? So it was great to catch up after it's so crazy long of not seeing him.
Yeah, that's Wyatt has always, he's got a way with people, and he has he's a great show, great reputation. So his show,
that's like that area was great because I was doing the big wow shows when it was him and Steve Moger. So it's nice because it's only an hour flight for me, so it's nice and quick, and you can just in the airport's minutes away, so it's not a lot of driving or whatever. So yeah, it's the perfect location. Like if I'm gonna do like a quick show.
Well, Rob and Dave both would like you to start doing some East Coast shows.
That'd be awesome, dude. I need yes, Dave, I would love to. If they got to start ponying up for stuff. I mean, it's as great as it is, but like, if they're not like going to chip in for something, whether it's the flight, flights now are too expensive. So if they got to chip in for the hotel, they got to do something. So, I can't go there just to goof off. So,
No, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I don't know if I'm doing any more shows the rest of the year. I have no idea.
Nothing planned though. So
no, nothing's planned. So I don't know. Something comes up, but I mean, I'm just gonna assume not. But who knows? Maybe something will come up.
Yeah, you never know. Well, why don't we look at some artwork? We've got more.
All right, yeah, man.
We kind of showed off those first two pieces, but we do have 16 other artworks to look at.
Oh my gosh, let's go.
Let's do it, and give me the stories on these.
Okay, so that was the one we already talked about with the first. That was the very first page I bought. So and
it's still in your possession though.
Yeah, no, yep. Everything I sent you, I still have.
That's the thing. So many people don't have the first page they ever bought. I mean, many people do, but a lot of
I'm such a stickler of collecting, and almost, again, we have these regret stories of selling this or selling that. We shouldn't have. But I've had everything. I mean, I still have the first comic I ever got as a kid was Amazing Spider-Man 151. I literally have it behind me in a box, and I just kept everything. Much to my mom's dismay or my wife's dismay, if I got all this stuff. I still have everything. So, no, I wouldn't have sent you things I didn't have, nor that'd be.
Oh, no, I know. I just, it's those first purchases though that I think are.
I still have that thing we showed of Dan. I still have my first Marvel book was Excalibur 82. I still have a page from that. I did Prototype 13 literally right after that issue. So that was from Marvel. I still have all those pages. So, I was good about keeping stuff. And even like new guys now, I tell them, keep your first thing. I just did Travis Mercer. He's a brand new penciler. He's doing stuff at DC. I did his first DC gig a year or two ago for Red Hood number 46. And it was all blue line. And he penciled them digitally. And I was like, dude, it's your first thing. It's a big deal. I sent him all the pages. I'm sending these to you. You keep them. Do not sell them. I'm sending them as a gift. Here you go.
Wow.
So
that's good. You got to teach him. I mean, especially if they're, he's young and he's doing digital pencils. I mean, he has
exactly. And I was like, I go, just hang on to him, man. I go, I'm not going to be, it'd be just dumb. I go, they're going to mean a colossal amount more than me. They're, if I keep them, they're going to sit in an envelope for the next 40 years.
Right. Wow. So, well, hopefully,
thank you.
Hopefully he gets it right. I mean, then,
you never, but you know what, man, and circumstances come up and you got to, it's fine. If something comes up, you got to do it. You got to do it.
Well, you definitely did the right thing there. I mean, by at least giving him the opportunity to keep his first stuff. That's great.
Yes.
Marcus says, teach him not to do digital though.
Yeah, that would be awesome. But you know what, man, as much as I'm not into it, I'm not going to be the old fart that is not like, hey, we're well into the 21st century. Look, I can't get my stupid camera to work on this thing. So, me arguing that, technology is evil is, I will probably do it. And my wife was trying to convince me to get a new iPhone today. And I was like, why? I don't care. This one works. But it's just the way it is, that they're going to learn, it just, whatever, as long as they're drawing and doing stuff, it's fine. But you'll see these guys complain at shows that they don't have originals to sell. So, prints are prints and whatever. But you'll see a lot of the guys that will draw the cover and splashes or double page splashes on board, but they'll do everything else digitally, all the rest of the book.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of the digital artists will either do the covers traditionally, just so they can get that $1,500 to $3,000 sale, and then do the rest of the book.
No. But again, we're it's 2022, man. It's just everything's gonna be. You got to be current. So
yeah. Ken Carter said you have a rotary iPhone.
That's hilarious. That's funny. My dad still has this ancient flip phone, which I don't know how it hasn't just disintegrated. So.
Oh man, but so a unique choice though for you on this first page. I mean, I know we talked about it a little bit, but
like I said, just randomly. And again, my mom would have killed. I don't know. She probably forgot about it, but I begged her to write me this check, and I didn't know what I was going to show up with. I had no idea.
Right, you didn't even know what it was going to be. You had no picture.
I didn't know, man. All I know is I love that dumb book so much. Like, it was one of my favorite titles. And
what do you think the cost was on this piece back?
Oh, I know what it was. It was $85.
$85. Wow.
Yep. No, I remember most of the price I paid for this stuff. That was $85. Yep. That seemed to be his current rate around that time for originals, because the other one was the same price.
Let's go ahead and take a look at this one right here.
Yep, that was this exact same price. And I will argue to the death, I think this is one of the better pages he did for the series.
Well, nobody.
And those aren't stats; they're all hand drawn.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yep, they are not stats.
Wow. Yeah, that's this. For me, this is just an amazing page. I mean,
it's a classic because you get every version of Maguire face,
right?
Everyone, and you get Guy being a dick, and Mr. Miracle being overly annoyed the whole time, but he can't do anything about it. So, and yet again, back then it was a random luck. I want this page, and somehow I was able to get it. Nowadays you couldn't do that. It's very hard to get that stuff, or make that happen. But yeah, I was very lucky. A lot of the pages I got, I was like, I didn't give you any Pacheco pages to show, but all those Pacheco pages I got, they were the exact ones I wanted to get, and I somehow got them. But this was that. I love this page. I still have it. Maguire was one of my favorite guys at the time. So, and I didn't include the Cap page I have, which those are incredibly hard to find. But again, there was a bunch of those available. I got it from Albert, and it's a great page. It's just hard. That one's on massive, oversized Marvel board, so it's not the easiest to store. So,
well, I'm kind of browsing through your CAF gallery now, so I'm looking at the stuff that you're mentioning. I should put your link in the chat over there too.
Yeah, put in the link. I tried doing it earlier. I promoted the crap out of it today on Twitter, so I did put the link down there.
I'll go ahead and
again.
There we go. Now people can check out your CAF gallery while we're talking about your art, because the bigger scans are there too. So
yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Easy Go Lucky said it could be used as a style guide for the headshots. Yeah. Punchable faces on Guy. Exactly.
Yep.
Oh man.
And again, that one was $85. So, I even Kevin was at a big WoW show I went to a few years ago, and I forgot to bring this with me to get him signed. I don't know. I was packing up stuff, and he's like, "You're the one that has that?" He's like, "We were just talking about that like the other month." And I was like, "Yep, I still got it."
Well, that's awesome.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's not $85 any longer. That's for sure.
No, nothing is $85 anymore. Nothing is.
Yeah, I mean, the scale of which the art's changed is just so crazy these days. I mean, I was talking with a dealer potentially about a piece and trying to figure out how I might be able to work out a trade for it, and the price I was telling them I thought was ridiculously high already, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it's probably this, and they called me today and told me they almost got double what I thought.
I think I remember you telling that. I watched one of the shows. I remember you bringing up that.
This is even a new one. This just happened today. Literally today. And we're not talking like a $5,000 page. We're not even talking like a $20,000 page. I mean, I was literally like, Well, it's not really the best one, but I think it's probably worth, in the mid 30s,
Yeah.
and I'm like, let me think about it. Maybe I'll see what I can maybe do. And I was kind of saying, well, don't show it to anybody. I know if you show it to somebody, they'll have a friend who will pay a stupid amount of money. And
Yep.
sure enough, they did. And sure enough, the price came back over 50.
Yep.
So I was like, well, I guess I said, that is a stupid price. I mean, because you even had comps for this piece of art that should have not had it go over 35, and somebody's silly enough to want to spend even more money. So I was like, well,
you know what? And
that's the thing these days.
That is the bane of collecting comic art.
There's always going to be somebody with more money than you and a little.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You go on these things, and there always will be another guy. He just will always have more money. It doesn't matter. And I'm, you know what, even getting this stuff back then, I'm just some silly little inker making no money. And I was able to squeeze out this great stuff. It was a miracle.
Yeah, no, well, you made the most of the opportunities. That's for sure.
Yep. And just being, and back then, I was literally checking eBay. I had my couple of things I would look for constantly, literally checking every 2 days. You type in that name, you type in that name, you type in that name, and you put in your time, and something will pop up. And Albert would tell me this all the time. Just wait. Something will come up. Just wait. Yeah, it'll come up. Yeah.
But that's the problem today. That's not the way it is today, though.
No.
It's not going to come up anymore. I mean, you think you can wait.
This was like 25 years ago. He told me that.
Right. And that used to be the way it was. But anymore, you can't do that because nobody's waiting. I mean, as bad as maybe the economy looks today, I mean, as far as buying original comic art, nobody's waiting.
No, everyone's pouncing immediately. You can't, that's not happening anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, well, it is what it is. It's fun to watch because, I mean, I can't say that the hobby was boring for the last, 10 years.
I try to keep up as much as I can. I look at results, and, I jot down notes, like for the stuff I have for pages, like, my Frazettas, I keep a notebook of every single thing that sells in Heritage just to keep abreast of what things are going for. Because people I had guys like making up numbers to me, and I was like, no, I watch the auctions. I know what they go for. So,
Right. Oh no, I know. It's that's why there's always somebody. I mean, you could even look at a Heritage auction and know that there's probably a couple buyers who weren't aware of certain pieces that were in that one, and they would have. So these lots, as crazy as the prices are, they would have gone higher if the right buyers were actually paying attention sometimes. So yeah, it is what it is. But yes, but let's look at more art. I mean, I'm not trying to lament the hobby or
art.
Art.
Yeah.
So this is a gorgeous Invaders page.
Yes, I have no idea why, but I was loved the Invaders comic when I was a kid. I don't know. I mean, Cap's one of my top 5 favorite characters, but I was so into it. I think one of the few guys that was way into Frank Robbins. Mm-hmm. I know he's an acquired taste, but like I love that book, and I think it was because my dad and my uncle had comics when I was a little kid, and my grandparents had a box of their stuff. And I would just, every time we go over their house all the time, and I look through it. They had like 150, 180 comics in there. And for some reason, my dad was a good amount older than his brother. And there was an Invader. They had the Baron Blood issues in there, Invaders 7 and 8 and something like that. Yeah. And I don't know, man, I dug it. And I just, I instantly got all those issues. And again, I randomly found this page for nothing. I think I bought this in, I'm going to think 1995, I think. So, and it's got the whole team, and, it's got Cap in every panel, which is great. And I'm a massive Frank Robbins fan. His shadow issues are the best stuff ever. His couple Batman issues he drew were amazing, but like his shadow issues, man, I don't know. I might give up a kidney to get one of those great shadow pages, but I know most of them are like, I heard this story, like some collector that lived in France bought most of the stuff that was around back like in the end of the 70s.
Yeah, that's I guess for Marcus is asking, what is the inker's fascination with Robbins? I mean, I think I guess
I don't, I don't know. But again, like there's certain guys, like I wouldn't want Frank Robbins to draw the Fantastic Four. I wouldn't want him to draw Spider-Man, but for some reason, like the Batman stuff he did and the Shadow stuff and the Captain America issues were pretty good. I can't say I dug every one of them, but it's just, I don't know. It just, you know what it was? I really liked that Invaders title, and that's what got me hooked on Frank Robbins. And the Shadow, again, is one of my top 5 favorite characters, and I got all those Shadow issues that DC put out in the 70s, and just those 3 issues that Robbins did, they're just you know what it is? He's got such a good flow. They're so energetic, and just there's a good flow and movement to everything. Nothing is stiff. And anyone who's read a Frank Robbins comics, he does that kooky pose, or they're running, and it looks like there's no way in the world they could be running. And you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Yes, and it looks as kooky as possible, but whatever, it works. And everyone's got their weird eyes, or he would do weird eyes on people, and like the teeth with the spit connecting the teeth. But and those Batman issues, they were great. Just he was really good. And I have another. I found another. You can see the page in my gallery. There's another Frank Robbins one, but it's like from one of the the Marvel British reprints of the Invaders, and it's mostly stats and some other stuff, but I got it for $1. So I just bought it, and I had no idea where it was from for the longest time. And I finally figured it out. But this page,
it was one of those where they did only the first page was kind of original to that.
Yes, exactly. The bottom part of that British reprint was hand drawn, but not by Robbins. It was by whoever was on staff at the British office, I guess.
Sure.
But I paid $1 for that, and we can make everyone upset now because I only paid $25 for this page you're showing.
Wow. That's a steal.
Yep. And I don't think you could fit any more words in the panel 4.
No, you can't. Yeah, even Lala said it was a little wordy, but
mm-hmm.
Oh man. All right. Well, that's I don't think I've ever owned anything by Robbins, but he would be somebody I wouldn't mind getting a page from.
Yeah, man. I dig it. So. Yeah. Man. I loved this issue when I was a kid. When I was a little kid, I was, just like everybody, I was weighing the dinosaurs, and just I like the lizard. They barely used the lizard back then. If you remember, he only showed up in a few issues. He barely ever used them. And then all of a sudden, now we have another lizard man person dinosaur guy. And man, I read that stupid book. I have it here. It's in the closet. I read that stupid thing over. And that was issue 19 of Marvel Team Up. I didn't care that much for issue 20. So, but that was the second part of the story. But so I bought this from Mitch when he'd mail that Xerox staple catalog in the early 90s. He mailed that out. I
never got one, but I actually have some now, but
yeah.
I didn't start collecting until 98, 99. So I missed all of those, unfortunately.
Yeah. So this, I'm going to think I got this in 93, I think. I remember because I for some reason at that moment I got the catalog that day in the mail, and I think we were still in our house on Jefferson and Shook over by the lake, and there was this page, one other page, and the cover. He had the cover, and I was flipping out. The cover was $400, and I was furiously thinking what I could. I don't. There was no way I could get $400. It was probably 1992 or 3, and there was no way my mom or dad was going to give me $400 for this thing.
They weren't. They wrote a check for $85, but they wouldn't write one for $400, right?
No, you know what? My parents were amazing, and they put up with since I was working all the time, they put up with me getting this stuff because I barely ever asked them for that since I started working. But once in a while, if I had to write a check, they all right, yeah, whatever. So I was a great kid. I was no problem. So I think they were okay with buying me a thing or two. But the $400, yeah, there's no way. And I was anything I could think of. I think I was even going to trade some pages, but it just wasn't going to happen. So this page was only $40. And it is the very first page with Stegron's first appearance in that third panel. So that's the first page he shows up at. So, it's got the classic up the nose shot. in that second panel. You know, it's a classic. That's the only classic Kane thing. It's got Spidey in a couple of the panels. It's got Kazar. So I was cool with it, you know, as much as I love that cover. And I think Albert, he had it for a long time recently. I don't know if he still has it anymore, but he had it for a long time. And that was one of the few regrets. I just could not make that happen, man. I was like, oh, man.
Well, I mean, we all have those.
Yeah, everyone's got them. You know, it sucks, but that was like literally one of my favorite covers when I was a kid.
Right.
And just,
but you got this page, and you've had.
I got this. It was cool.
Years.
I don't remember what the second page from the story that he had for sale. I don't remember what it was, but there was two, and they were each $40.
$40. Yeah, that's that. The good old days.
Yes.
Well, see, Jason wants to say, cool to see you on the show. He says,
hi, Jason. Yeah, well, I just brought you up earlier because I had mentioned that you got me back in touch with Kirk. So
there you go.
Thank you.
Let's see. Oh, next piece here.
Yes. Why am I blanking on his name? What's wrong with me?
Let's see.
What's the matter with me? Dick Dillon. Dick Dillon.
Thank you.
Yes. Man, what's wrong? Man, I am really tired. Sorry.
Well, there's comics to be made, John.
My daughter got a bunch of bug bites yesterday when she was playing at school at recess, and she was up a good amount of the night last night itching. So I sat with her to kind of get her to just calm down and go back to bed. So, and I had to get up at 6:30 to get her ready for kindergarten. So I was a little tired. But yeah, this is another issue. Not that this is a great issue by any means, or that, you know, I like Dick Dillon, you know, as much as the next guy, but he's nowhere near my favorite artist. But again, this issue was one of the issues that was in the box of comics my grandparents had, that my dad and my uncle had. And I read this issue probably 80 times. I mean, just because this is the first time you got the Earth 1 Neil Adams design Robin costume, which is in that panel.
Mm-hmm.
And next to him is the worst costume design in the world of Earth 2 Robin, which might be the weirdest, dumbest costume ever. And we could go on all day about bad costume, but that looks like they threw it together from scraps. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you about those as well, because I always thought those were. I mean, so what was the attraction to picking up the page? Was it just the?
No, because I love that issue. I just really like that issue a lot. I just, you know, for my you know, in that box my grandparents had, there was a random bunch of Justice League issues. It was just a bunch. So I'm guessing my dad and my uncle were into that. So like there was a Justice League, you know, like a Justice League 20. And some older stuff, you know, there's a Just League 10, which was great because it was still a 10 center. But they had this issue, and just it's a great page because you have have a ton of characters from Justice League and Justice Society. Nikki, there's Nikki. Nikki's the best. Nikki is the best. If anyone's hung out with him, he is the best to hang out with.
Well, I'm Nick and I have actually never met in person, but I'm going to Baltimore this year. So
cool. Yeah, no, Nikki's the best, man. I've known him for so long, and he's always incredibly. He's always been very, very nice to me. And whenever we get to the piece, Nikki is the reason I got to do that Spider-Man piece. Than the ones I sent you with that big piece with the Hulk.
Oh yeah, that's the last one we've got in the set.
Yes. So I was a big, I don't even know what the term is. I just bugged him to let me do it. And it worked. But yeah, I love this issue. I read it probably 100 times. I still have it. I still have it behind me. I love that issue. I was looking for any other pages in this issue, but again, I've seen a couple. I've seen like two, and they still go. Like now, all of a sudden, I heard like the Dylan stuff goes for a lot more now. I don't know why, because I'm sure you've heard the story. Like whenever he passed away, his wife, and I don't know this for a fact. This is what I heard. His wife was not thrilled with him and just dumped all of his artwork for sale when he passed away. So they flooded the market. And for the longest time, all the Dylan stuff didn't go for anything. So
No,
I could be wrong, but
same thing. Yeah, no, that's it is. I mean, that's at least that's what I recall hearing from a few.
And I think again, I think I paid. I'd have to look, and the other cool thing, most of the pages I have like this, they still have the price written in back in pencil. So I'd have to look. This one was maybe 40, maybe. Hey, how's it going? But yeah, no, I always really thought that was a great Robin Earth One design that Neil Adams did, and I just assumed they barely used it, but I did dig it.
Well, cool, and it's always good to get something from a book that you fondly remember, right? I mean,
yep, and like I said, a lot of stuff I have was just I was shocked I was able to find pages from the books I love, or I had to have that certain page, and I found them. I was like, nowadays that wouldn't happen, but I was very, very fortunate. It's just all timing,
Nope. Hey, trust me. I know.
That's great. It's I think it's the only title page I own.
Yeah. Well, this is a killer title.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't ask for more on this thing.
No. And again, I don't know how Pat still had it when I first met him. I bought this, and very fortunate. I became really, really, really good friends with Pat, and I inked hundreds. I think I did around 700 pages with him, something like that. And it's a great classic. There's nothing better than Spidey Human Torch team-ups. I don't care what you say, whether it's Flash or Green Arrow and Green Lantern, or Flash and Green Lantern, or Batman and Superman. There's nothing better than Spidey and Human Torch. That's it.
No, the banter between the pair was,
that's it. They can't get along. It's the same shenanigans every storyline. Oh, you got my way, you hothead. That gee whiz, it works out in the end, but it doesn't matter. It's a great page. It has all the lettering on there. It's great. I don't know how he still had it when I met him. I immediately had to get it, and and then we just started doing stuff. I mean, I don't know. That was like 97, I think. After that I got to ink the pinup in Spider-Girl Annual 1. I believe it's the very last page in that comic, and I mean, I put 1,000,000% into it. I was like so happy, I was like, yeah, because Pat's so good. The best thing about Pat is that he's got the classic structural stuff of comics, storytelling, all that stuff. It's nothing too flashy. It's got the right amount of comic style and juice to make it not look boring. And he's great. He's got classic storytelling and everything. And I just started inking just tons. Like I said, I probably did between 650 and 700 of his pages. We did a ton of stuff. And I'm trying to remember who wrote Spider-Girl. Was it Tom DeFalco?
I am not sure.
I think that's it. I think it was Tom DeFalco. Wait, it should. No, that doesn't. But yes, he wrote, I think it was Spider-Girl. So when I had already been working for a bunch of years. And when I did that pinup, he called me and he's like, oh my gosh, this is really good.
You are right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm Googling while you're talking. Tom DeFalco. Yep. You got it.
So he called me, and he, for some reason, thought this is the very first professional thing I ever done. And he was going to try to help me get into Marvel and get work. And I go, wow, that's super nice. I go, I've been working there for years. He's like, really? It was like, oh, he's like, but it's really good. I was like, oh, so that was very nice of him to say that. So
he thought he was doing you a favor. I mean,
yeah, no, I know. I thought it was great. It was so nice he did that. But it was just, those things are nice because, like, getting compliments from certain guys, you never, I know, you would know the same thing. You got all these guys are so gruff. And all these old timer guys, like, they just never, say anything. But you get a couple of these guys that are like, oh my God, I can't believe he likes this stuff, So, it's a great page. Pat's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, that's a keeper. I mean, it's gorgeous.
I was just texting with him today. I was like, dude, you got to watch. I know your pages up there. This one.
Changing gears a little bit on this one.
Okay, so the interesting this is Don Rosa. And again, I am Karl Barks and Don. I'm probably one of the biggest Karl Barks fans there are. I love that stuff. I could read those books all day long. I have too much of that stuff as well. And I'll never be able to afford a Karl Barks original, but it was crazy that now all of a sudden we had successor to Don Rosa and him showing up and doing this stuff, like all the page stories in amazing detail. They were still perfectly drawn, every little nook and cranny, and every coin and every Uncle Scrooge dollar bill and all the other stuff. So I had a ton of his stuff. So I got invited to do a big group signing at the main Mile High comic shop. And I think it was 1995. I'm pretty sure it was 95 or 96, right around there. So it was me, Don Rosa, Jim Shooter, like 8 other guys. And I knew Don was going to be there. And I already had 2 sketches from him previously, which I got in the 90s. And I was still working on The Flash, I believe. I was either still working on The Flash with Howard Porter or I had just finished it. And everyone would seem to be more excited. The people came to signing were more excited about seeing the current guys. No one seemed to be really bothering Don or talking to him, if I remember correctly. And I'm sitting over there just like, just, oh my God, I'm doing this. And I was like, can I please get a sketch? Please. And he's like, oh yeah, sure. And I've done this before. I'm such, I don't even know what the term is. You could think of something, but I just started telling him what I want. And he did it for free, which was incredibly generous of him. But so I tell him what I want. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. And I was like, what? And, I've not had anyone, say no to any of the thing I brought up. I was like, wait, what? And, it'd be different if there was a line of guys behind me, but I was the only one talking to him. And I'm not trying to feel like, but I was like, oh, really? He's like, well, I don't have any board. I was like, wait a second. I turn around in my bag. I go, here's some board. He's like, ugh. He's like, I don't have any markers. I was like, hold a second. I found one of the dudes that came with us. I got a whole box of markers. I go, here you go. He's like, and I don't know if he could come up with another excuse. He's like, all right, fine. And he's begrudgingly doing this. And I was like, hey, if you need ref, because I didn't know anything about the guy other than that he's like a genius artist. I didn't know. I was like, hey, if you need ref for the Flash costume, he's like, listen, I was there when Carmine designed this suit. I was like, all right, awesome. And I left him alone. And I just went back to my table and I, went back to signing autographs for the, whoever was there and blah, blah, blah. And he begrudgingly did this piece and it's so cool. And so just for me, because, it just seemed funny. I even gave him the dialogue to put on there, which he must've thought I was like being the biggest prick, but he begrudgingly did it. I still have it. And I saw him a handful of years ago, maybe like 6 years ago at one of the big WoW shows. I brought it with me and I was like, hey, and we were talking. I was like, oh, I'm the biggest fan. And I go, do you remember this? And he's like, oh my God, I do. And he's like, you know what? I like it. Now I like it. And I was like, oh, thank Christ. So, I was waiting. I stood a little bit away because I thought he might grab it on my head and rip it up. So I did stand like out of arm's reach.
Right. He's still having nightmares about it after all these years.
Yeah. No. And he's like, you know what? I like it a lot. Will you please send me a scan? I want to include it in one of my books. I was like, yeah. So I got his info. I did it right when I got home. So yeah, I love this piece. Even the other 2 pieces I have are great. And for some reason, I thought I had an Uncle Scrooge piece, which, like I said, I've got a great memory, but I really thought I had one, and there's no way in the world I would have misplaced it. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I did. I don't know. But yeah, so that was the backstory with this for, me making him do this stuff.
Yeah. Well, at least he enjoyed seeing it later.
They all come around. I mean, they all get over it. They all come around.
See, but you were
maybe.
using a little bit of your editorial and and writing and creativity on this one. Maybe he.
Yep. And again, I was probably being a little prick, but he still did it, and it's still great.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, now we get to the golden.
Golden.
Yes.
So anyone who's seen my stuff, I'm fortunate. I have one of the better Michael Golden collections. Again, Kirk Jarvin really educated me on all this stuff, and I instantly was absorbing everything I could. I bought every cover he would put out. Back then you go to quarter bids and get all the Defenders covers and whatever else. But so this page, besides being a phenomenally great Michael Golden, Craig Russell page, you got the perfect shot in that last panel of the perfect length of ears, whether you like them stubby or, Kelly Jones-ish. The great shot. Batman's in pretty much every panel. But this page was part of a collection Kirk had. So he had a lot of artwork. He really helped me solidify more of being serious about collecting artwork. And this page eluded me for a long time. So back when I was in the Kubert school, I would so randomly call him every month. And this was the very beginning of 1993. And this is one of my few, I shoulda, coulda, woulda of buying stuff. And I called him, and he had just told me he sold this 10-piece lot to Albert. And I was like, what? And so he had this page and the other two I have from this story. So there's these 3 pages, an amazing page from the Avengers annual issue where Wonder Man gets thrown into the garbage dumpster, and there's Hawkeye and Spider-Man next to it. The She-Hulk 9 cover where she's transforming. It's got the spiral behind him or her, and a bunch of Jack Kirby pages. And he sold it for back then it was an okay amount. And I was like, why didn't you call me? I would have I literally would have sent you a money order like the next day. I even though I would have had to live on bread and water for a long time, I was just so irked. I was like, so, I saw Albert a couple months later at a New York show, and somebody had bought this page but left the other 2 pages. So I quickly scooped those up, and I just was, waiting, just like Albert says, if you wait, everything will come back up. And the guy on Comic Art Fans, he had this page, and I wrote him. I was like, hey, and everyone does this, and I get it all the time. If you ever sell this, please let me know. And I'm sure most people don't do that. So, I'm a patient guy, and I think I waited 4 years or 5 years or something. And I remember this was July 4th weekend. And my wife and I were with her folks up in Hollywood having lunch. And it was either the July 3rd or 4th. And the guy messaged me. He's like, oh, I'll sell it. And I was like, ugh. So I was like, yeah, I'm out. I can't do anything. Can I get it when I get home? So he was great. He sold it to me. It's back. I have all 3. And I'm a big stickler about getting sequential pages if and when it can come up. Just like the Ted McGuire page that I have from that issue. Right. I have 9 and 11. I saw someone had page 10 and I missed it by like a day. And, but I like getting if I get a page, like I have page I have page 15, I'll try to find page 14 and 16, which, everyone has their collecting quirks, and that's just one of mine. But, and all the other golden pages I have, they're amazing. I'm trying to put together that story for all the other ones I have are all this is from Batman Family 18. And the other 8 pages I have are from Batman Family 19, that 20-page story. And I have 8 pages from that. I know there's been 2 other ones for sale. One I just wasn't aware of. Mike Berkey had it. And I just, again, you can't keep up with everything. He sold it. And then page 20 of that story was on Heritage a few years ago. And I know it was going to go for too much. And it was just a big splash page of that white bat. So I was like, meh. And yeah, it was too much. And with the VIG and everything, I just didn't want to, all that extra money stuff. And I think maybe it was 5 years ago. I think my daughter was just born. So I don't know. I know, and this is one of those things, you know, you should try to get everything, but I was like, that's okay. I can live without it. And you know what's going to happen on that guy? I didn't buy that page. I really thought right when whoever bought that page was going to hit me up on CAF and try to sell it to me because I have everything else.
Well,
really did
do that. You know that, right? I mean, that's
I know how everybody works. I know it.
Right.
I know
it is true. I mean, it's especially if there might be, you know, if you might have something else that they want. I mean, they will go out and purposely
and they will hold you hostage.
They will. I mean, it's I mean,
and I'll give the guy credit. I'll give the guy credit that did sell me this page. And, you know, he was very nice. He didn't try to like fleece me or it was very cool. My price was okay. It was just fine. So, but I know, the page you put up in the teaser, that Batman family page where he grabs those guys, that was one of the last ones I got. And people were, you know, everyone's complaining that they can't get any golden pages because I've been getting them all.
Yeah, well, I didn't know which pieces you were going to show when I created the slide, and that was. Like
but you wanted. I got a story for the ones I gave you, so I made sure they're good stories.
Yeah, that is right. Nope. Hey, well, let's see. We got a DPS here now.
Yes. So this is Aaron Weisenfeld pencils with JD and Scott Williams inks, and I'm probably one of the biggest Aaron Weisenfeld fans. He didn't do a lot of comic work in the 90s, but what he did was beyond genius. And this is the stuff that really was able to turn the corner for me with inking. This stuff, like these issues, were the things that really, you know, the light bulb went off, or someone hit me in the head, and boom. You know, it clicked. Just like, you know, I met Bob Layton right before I started working up to the Valiant office, and he said one dumb sentence. It just changed me, and I was inking better.
What was the dumb sentence?
It was something, I don't remember because there was so much nonsense going on that day. I was still in the Kubrick school, and we took a field trip to the Valiant office, and I was too busy not paying attention because I was rummaging around in Barry Windsor Smith's office. And I wasn't
Barry there, I hope? Was Barry there while you were doing that?
No, I don't think he would have let me do that. So I wasn't like going through stuff, but I was just kind of like perusing around what was on the walls and what was in the stacks. I didn't go through anything. I wasn't being disrespectful, but I was looking as close as possible to everything that was on top of the stacks and on the wall and everything. So
sure.
But I don't know. Bob just said this one thing about lighting, and I was like, oh yeah. And I was better the next day. It sounds very silly that it works, but sometimes you talk to someone who is, you know, the elite in their profession. They tell you one phrase and the light bulb just gets brighter. Like it just boom. I was better the next day. I don't know what happened, and that from then on, I was getting better like every other week. So it was great, and Bob was super nice, and you know, it took that couple of minutes, but again, I wasn't listening to the whoever the tour guide was. I just left and I was like, oh, that's Barry Windsor, and I was went there. Looking at me. Believe me, if he was in there, he would have thrown me right out. He wasn't going to put up with any nonsense.
No, this is I actually never read the book, but I love.
It's awesome, and Grifter's my favorite Image character, and you know, he's on there. And again, just, you know, I have 5 pieces of his, and you can't really find this stuff anymore. And again, I think I bought this stuff from Scott, if I remember correctly. I bought all of this stuff when Scott was still doing Wildstorm Fine Arts. I bought all this from him, and it was a steal. I mean, these pages didn't cost anything, but it's like, this was one of my favorite titles from the 90s. I have multiple beat up copies that I was just looking at all the time, but the inking is beyond gorgeous. The top panel with that guy, I mean, anyone else would make that, whatever that dashboard system, whatever it is, just look super stiff, but it's got so much life in that tech stuff, and that guy's mask and everything is just gorgeous.
Yeah, no, well, the whole page is gorgeous, but I see what you mean though. That first panel is just amazing.
Yep. And that hand in the third to last panel of Grifter's hand doing that like slightly with the shadows. Man, it's just great.
Yeah. Well, I know Weisenfeld didn't have a long career in comics, but he wanted to move into fine art.
Yeah,
stuff.
he did a small chunk of stuff. I got to meet him once. I was the biggest Weisenfeld fan and the biggest Richard Bennett fan. I haven't met Richard, but I got to meet Ryan at one of the last big Wildstorm parties. I think that was in 1996. I spoke to him for, I think, a minute. It was too much stuff going on at the party, but yeah, I did get to meet him for a second. So,
well, really, really nice.
And I was just talking about him this morning with Richard Friend. And we were just going on about how great he was, or is, I should say, is. He's still a great artist.
Yeah, I got to get Richard on here sometime. He and I talked about doing that in San Diego. So maybe sometime before the end of the year. He'd be fun.
Well, it took a while to get me out here. So
I know it did. Well, Richard and I've known him. Well, you guys, I think I've probably known both of you about the same length of time. I mean, when I started collecting, you guys were, it was like the two of you, Tim Townsend. It was so neat having so many artists who were so involved in collecting and were active on, in the same kind of forums and chat groups that I was using at the same time. So it just was neat. We don't really, things are so different today with social media and everything, but back then, as somebody who was just getting started in the hobby, I thought it was just great to be surrounded by so many people who were, so interested in collecting art. And then it was the artists who were also collecting it too, which just made you feel even better about buying it, because you're interested in a hobby that even the guys creating it are interested in too. So it was really inspiring. Yeah.
And the other good thing was like, whether, you're, just when you're, I'm sorry, I should start like, if you're a pro doing comic pages and you're like, all right, let's see how detailed this, you buy one of these pages, you see them in person. I remember that I was like, that's not that detailed. And, I was just like, but then you see stuff like, wow, they're doing it this way. So, it is neat. If you're doing that stuff, it's good to have that stuff and check it out. Or at least if you can go look at it, you don't have to buy it, but looking at it is great.
So now we've got this Travis piece out here that's dedicated.
Yes, Travis. So, yes. And again, here's another piece where I was dictated what I wanted.
Yeah. So did you get the same reaction from Travis though?
No, he didn't care. He's like, oh, all right. So this was, oh my gosh, a long time ago. This must've been 2000 or something. It was a long time ago. And we were at San Diego back when it wasn't, super packed like it is now. And we were in Artist Alley. There was a bunch of empty tables back then, and we were waiting to go to lunch. And I don't remember who we were waiting on or what, but we were waiting. We're just sitting there. And I was like, you know what? Because, back then you could buy Wildcats X-Men pages, and I was going to get some, but I just like, I'll get that later. But, now you can't. And I was like, you know what? I don't have a sketch from you. And he's like, oh, all right. And I was like, oh, we're waiting. I'll just do something now. I was like, oh, it's cool. So he had some board, and he had his markers with him. And I was like, what'd be cool? This. And I just told him, and he just drew it up. He did it it was pretty quick. I don't know. It was 20 minutes or something, but it's gorgeous. And it's more funny than I was like, oh, why don't we have this? So, but yeah, it's a great piece. It's all in gray tone markers and stuff. Yeah, it's great. And it's huge. It's on 11 by 70 board. It's very big. It's not just on a small piece of board. It's very big.
I was going to say, I was assuming it was more like 8 by 10, 9 by 12.
Nope. It's big. Yeah.
Dang. So but those days are long gone in San Diego, where when I first started going there, I think my first show was 2003. Yeah, it was just it was so empty, and even there were open tables.
Yep. You can get a hotel 4 days before the show. No big deal.
Right, exactly.
If you worded it properly, I used to be able to get 10 badges for free, no problem. I just had to say I had a number of assistants come to help me. And they just gave me a whole slew of badges.
Dang. Yeah, no more.
Yeah. No. You're lucky if you can get your badge. You're lucky.
Right.
So, but yeah, this is a gorgeous piece. I have a few of the Travis pieces. I do not have any pages, but again, that was my foolishness of just thinking like, oh man, I'll get that later.
They were around. You're right though.
Dumbeer Scott had all those Wildcats X-Men pages up, and I think they were all like 500 a piece, if I remember right.
Right. Well, and at that time, 500 was kind of a lot of money, but the pages were great. I agree. I never bought
and
one.
I was like, I'll get that later. But you know what? And I didn't. So, but I have this, and I have my 2 other pieces. Or wait, do I have 2? I may have another one.
By Travis, you got a couple pieces in there. You got what do we got in there? A cap, and then a Wolverine Gambit sketch too.
Yeah, that one is not mine. That's the only piece in my thing. It's not mine. It is my friend Dave's. He still has it, but I needed to get more attention with it because he wasn't putting any of it. I don't know. He was getting annoyed not putting his stuff. I was like, no, people need to see this because I got him that for his birthday. I was like, so that's the only piece of my gallery that's not mine, and I think I have that written in there.
Yeah, that is a fun one though.
Yeah, no, it's killer. Like I try to get as much any grifter stuff that comes up that the main dudes would do. I would try what I could to snap it up.
Well, you did note it in the description that it was your friends.
Yes. Yep. Here's another awesome grifter page by Wilson. One of my favorite guys, Wilson. I don't know. I found this for nothing too. I couldn't believe I got it, but it's a great, like the crazy, amazing rendering that Wilson Scott would do. And it's got a great shot of grifter in both those panels. And I love it. It's a great page. And you got the cool Scott Wills reflective shine on Dane in the bottom, just that crazy, all that just reflectiveness is always amazing.
Yeah, kind of liquid inking style.
Yep.
Yeah,
no, man.
very
Yeah,
cool.
It's great. Yeah, it's such it was so cool. So yeah, it was a great page. That was a nice one I got.
So this is from Wetworks. You have other a few other pieces by Wills in your CAF gallery, Iron Man and other.
One of the other ones that I loved was that huge shot of that big horn. I forgot that guy's name. I think it starts with a D, but it's that massive behind the shot of his head with that horn. And just the shine that Scott did on that was just genius. It was so good.
Yeah, I'm in your CAF gallery now, checking it out. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's funny. The other page, the other Wills page I have where they're going through the forest, the Wetworks guys.
Yeah.
I don't know why that got a ridiculous amount of views.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, 7,000 views.
Yeah, it got crazy, and that was years and years and years ago. And Scott messaged me, and he asked me if I did some sort of program thing to get people to see it. I don't know. He's like, I don't know. He's like, this is an okay page. I don't know why everyone's looking at it, or how'd you get so many views? I was like, I don't know how to do anything on the computer. I have no idea. It was just, I don't know. People saw it, but it was funny because he messaged me about it.
Well, sometimes what I've found is if somebody links on a certain forum, you'll end up getting that. And sometimes Google just likes to make this be the number one thing if you're typing in Picasso Wetworks, and for whatever reason, it just happened.
I don't know. It's very weird, but they're all great pages, though.
Yeah, wow, that is great. I only have one piece by Wilson. It's an Uncanny X-Men page. So, but I've always loved his work. So yeah,
I have the other thing I have. You know what? I don't think I put it in there. I really, if you notice in my gallery, I only have like 2 pieces that was of my inks. I didn't put anything of mine in there. But Wills did a Spider-Man sketch for me forever ago, like in 1999 or 98. I randomly saw him at San Diego Con. And again, I'll just walk up and start talking to anyone. I didn't care if they were Wills or Stan Lee or whoever. And I was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh man, I'd love to get something that I can ink. Because again, there's certain things I know I'll never be able to ink Wills on a book. So I was like, hey, and he's like, oh yeah, sure. I was like, all right, great. I saw him the next day and he's like, here you go. I was like, oh my God. And he did it was on a random cut half piece of board, but it was awesome. I will, I'll have to message it to you. I'll have to message you because it's not on my gallery, but I got to ink it. And you know what? I just went and inked it, and I think it came out pretty darn good for me at the time.
I'd love to see it.
It's classic Wills hands with the 2 fingers together and the 2 other ones apart, where he's got the backward Spock thing going, and he would do that all the time. But it's the classic Wills hand, and Spidey is as muscularly thin as possible, but it looks great. I was such the biggest fan of his stuff, and he's always been very nice to me. Like I've met him a few times before I moved. I met him once at one of those Dearborn comic shows, and I showed him my stuff, and he was very nice about everything.
Very cool.
And he doesn't live too far from me now. Like he doesn't live too far from me here where I live. But I had one really, really great long talk with him at a comic show a few years ago. We were just talking about old pages and techniques, and yeah, he's the nicest guy.
Well, every interview I've read with him just makes him seem like he is incredibly, like you say, probably one of the nicest guys in comics.
Yep. Yeah, man. I know like everyone else, but I am a sucker for that old Platt stuff. I really am. And
I don't blame you. I've never owned anything by him, but this page right here is pretty dang amazing.
It could not get more Platty than this Stephen Platt page.
Right.
I was way into that stuff. You know, he was doing Moon Knight, and then, Rob snapped him up right away, and he was doing all that stuff. And so again, I was living with Joe. We were roommates. And right when I moved in that 97, I think I was right on the time when Joe started inking all Stephen Platt stuff. So I would see single thing that would come in because, we had our studio together. And Stephen would come over. That was the other great thing about our place. And any other artists listening know this, that we had 2 extra drafting tables because Marco would come over every weekday and he would sit between us and we'd be passing pages back and forth. Marco would do the backgrounds. I'd ink my page, Joe would ink his page. So we're just doing everything. And everybody, our place was the place to hang out. So we were the comic art frat house. So we had extra, rooms. So guys that were doing stuff, like especially all the Top Cow guys, whether it was Brandon Peterson or Michael Turner and Finch or Benitez, everybody would just come over. If there was a deadline crunch, they just stay at our place. Like Brandon Peterson would stay at our place for almost a week to finish up Arcanum or anything else because Joe was inking it. And then since I was there, I would get a page or 2 because everything was late. So it was amazing. Like I would get the ink these. Brandon's a genius. And, I still have one of his pages that I got to do on Arcanum. And Benitez was over all the time. Finch almost lived at our place because he was all alone at his apartment, which was not too far from us. And he would come over all the time. And he would bring his box of pencils and his ref and all his stuff. And he'd sit over and it was just easier because then he'd literally be done and give the page to Joe or give I ink some, he'd give it to me. So Steve would be over a lot. He would be over finish. What would happen a lot of times, like Steve would come over and finish up a page, whether he had like an hour left on it or he'd already be done. So he'd come over and hang out for a bit with the page or he'd finish working. And so I got to see, Marco and Joe did a phenomenally good job on these pages. I mean, they're as crisp and as perfectly rendered as possible. I mean, there is separation on top of separation with all of their textures. I get perfectly the best order, but it's pretty darn close. You're in the perfect zip code. So it's great. And I love, again, Cap's one of my favorite guys. And you could argue that, whatever Steven stuff is too big or whatever. But you know what? It's awesome. It's got the energy and everything. And so the funny story with getting this page is forever ago at the old Top Cow studio, they had the old pit, the one they had in the third and Promenade. Everyone had the drawing table like Benitez and, Michael Turner and all those guys. And Finch had his table. And I went in there in the beginning and under his table, he had a stack of his originals, like, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 pages. It was a big stack. And I was like, are those pages? He's like, yeah. And I was like, can I look through them? He's like, yeah, whatever. It's like, and I guess he knew I was good. So yeah, just take one. I don't care. So I'm flipping through. And there was a page from the Cyblade Ghost Rider crossover for that Marvel Top Cow crossover. And it was this great page it had a humongous shot on the left of Ghost Rider transforming it and all the flesh coming off of the skull. And he's Ghost Rider. And I was like, is this one okay? I was like, yeah, I don't care. Just take it. And I was like, oh, thank you. So I go home. I drive back home to Joe. And I was like, look what Dave gave me. He's like, what the fuck? And he was so mad because I guess he desperately tried to get that in the art split with David. He was very, very angry. and he was like, you got to trade me. I was like, no, I've had it for an hour. I go, hang on to it. So I kept it. I would bust Joe's chops about it for about 2 years or maybe something like that. And so eventually I was like, hey, I'll trade for this plat page. Joe still has. He's like, all right. He traded it. And I was like, all right, great. It's fine. So I had that page for the Finch page for a while. And then I had this for a few years. And I had another collector friend of mine, Spence Berlin, who was a biggest Captain America fan. He had tons of stuff. And I ended up selling him this page. I must, just like anything, I just needed a little bit more money to pay off taxes that year. And I was like, oh crap, it's getting to April. And so he gave me money. He bought it from me. And I was like, such a bummer. I was like, oh, whatever. I don't have it anymore. And then he's such a nice guy. Unfortunately he passed away a few years ago, but he, I still talk to him all the time. And we talk about art, and he was very nice. He'd invite me up to Beverly Hills and take me to lunch, and we talk about art. And he had a massive art collection. That's how I met him, because he bought a lot of stuff through Spencer Beck. So he owned a ton of my Flash artwork. And he was in the record industry, and he had a ton of my pages in his office, which was very nice. And so, this was, I don't remember when this was, 2011. I was in the house we have now, and I get a FedEx box, and I wasn't expecting anything. And my wife is getting all bent out of shape because she thought I secretly bought something. But I was like, no, I have no idea what this is. And I open it up, and it's this page. And I was like, why is this here? And I call him up. I was like, dude, did you mistakenly? I was like, no. He's like, I know how much you love this, and you're my good friend, and I have enough stuff, so I know you won't sell. I was like, and so it was great. He gave this back to me. It was the nicest gesture. I'll never sell it. So it was very nice. So It had a whole turnaround of, coming back to me. So it was very nice. And then I proceeded to find the other 4 pages I have. So this is one of the other things but this stuff never comes up, but I was, drastically hunting for one of these pages. And I just stupidly did not buy the last page Joe had a bunch of years ago. He had the splash page of the Howling Commandos. And I should have just sucked it up and bought the dumb thing, but Joe wanted a nice price for it. And I was being stubborn and wanted to pay like $300 less. And I was just dumb, and I should have just bought the dumb thing, but I didn't. So now I don't have it. But I have my 5 pages, so that's the best I can do.
Wow, that's a great story, though, man. That really is.
So I told you, make sure I picked it.
And I skipped over this next piece. I skipped it earlier. I apologize. Not just a couple pieces ago, but this was that Silvestri that you had picked.
Yes. Again, it's an amazing grifter shot. And it's another phenomenal Silvestri Scott Williams page. And I bought this off of Scott a handful of years ago, and just, I was fortunate enough to ink a lot of Mark's stuff when I was at Top Cow, but I didn't have anything anymore. I didn't keep anything because everything was selling so quick. So somehow Scott had this still, and I was like, oh my God. So yeah, I bought it. Yeah, it's a great page. Yeah, I love it. It's classic Mark and classic Scott, and you got your little Mark does the best tiny figures in the industry. His tiny figures are the best. They're so drawn just perfectly. They're amazing. So, and anybody who draws comic pages know it is very difficult to draw tiny people to make them look lifelike or good or have any sort of energy. But yeah, so in the rendering on Spartan's arm, that top panel, perfect. So, and my favorite thing, which would bother me to no end that I could not do for the longest time, is Scott's energetic panel, the way he would do that panel border at the top.
I was just going to ask you about that too. I mean, how thoughtful were those in the pencil?
No, it's just, I don't think, Mark probably just did a line or two. I've got to know. I mean, I just did.
I'm curious, what kind of direction there? Just Scott knew,
you know what it is? Once you get a rapport, Scott had already inked countless pages over Mark. When you have that good pencil ink rapport, it's just shorthand. You don't have to tell him stuff. All right, you can just indicate everything. And because Scott is going to do it regardless, or like I would do it. Like I would tell guys I'm work. Like same thing I did with Pat Olaf and Howard Porter. I go, you don't have to. I go, I'm saving you time, man. I'm going to do it anyways. You don't have to, I'm saving you a ton of extra manpower.
Right.
So, but yeah, those are great. It's great panel border energy. Just like, it's awesome.
Wow. Well, this next piece is definitely a change of pace, but
yep. Well, it's only the best guy.
I know.
Right?
I know. I remember when you posted this. I was excited for you, man. I've always wanted a Frazetta myself, and I mean, I can't imagine how you must have felt, getting this piece.
So, and again, anyone who can see my gallery and he was well built would agree. This is not the most interesting strip I have from him.
No, not at all.
But it has the best story.
Well, there you go. And just so you have 10 of the 10. Well, you have.
Don't I have one of the better Frazetta collections?
You've got, yes. As far as like displayed on CAF, without question.
Yes. So again, it's my humble bragging, but for again some little anchor, I've got probably one of the better ones. So, and like the one I put up in February with that hand, that one's. I thought this one of the more. Let's have some better grammar here, John. That was the drawing on that one. I thought was one of the better ones I've seen for sale in quite a long time. But this one, so the story behind this one, again, it's just mostly, it's just the main character's attire and legs. But, looking around, like, you got to put your time in looking for stuff on eBay. And I bought this 2009 or 10. Yeah, great gams in that last panel, right? Is that what they used to say?
Yes,
look at those gams.
Exactly.
So you're just looking around eBay and looking, and I found this in the antique section of eBay. And
what were you doing there?
I don't know. I honestly don't know how I came across it. I just, you click on this, you click on that, you click on this neat piece, you click on, and then I was like, all right, I guess this is real. And I got it for a steal. I don't think anybody noticed it. And if anyone sees those two blotches on the policeman's legs in that third panel, I think that was from my scanner. I don't believe they're on. I was probably lazy, didn't clean up, but I don't think those are on the piece. But yeah, so I got this for literally nothing, and it survived the house fire. That's why it's a little. You can see you can't tell in the scan, but like underneath where his signature is and down that bottom and the very bottom right, it's a little crispy.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So it did survive a house fire from what the guy told me when I bought it. So we didn't lose it, luckily, and all the Zipatone didn't melt. I don't know how. All that zip is still on there.
Wow.
So and so I get this, and my wife doesn't know anything about it. And I still joke about this once in a while. So I was like, I go, I got to get this. It's a little expensive. It wasn't crazy. It wasn't. I'm telling you, this was a steal. I got this for just under $1,100.
Wow.
And
that's hard to imagine.
And she, she's pretty good. Like, hey, you can spend $100 on a comic, but she again, and she just wouldn't. She didn't understand. And here's a little sidebar. So one of the first times she went with me to the New York Comic Con years and years ago, I was inking Jimmy Chung. And she's sitting with me at the artist alley table. People are going through my pages, and this guy pulls out a kind of splash page from Avengers. And he's like, how much is this? I was like, I don't know. It's like a G. And he's like, all right. And my wife's looking at me. She's like, what G what? I was like, it's $1,000. And she's like, it is? And she's like, it's a piece of paper. I was like, yeah. I go, he's still standing right here. And the guy buys it. And she was just befuddled that someone would pay this for a piece of paper. And so the guy gets it. He pays me in cash. I instantly get up and I go over to Albert and I buy one of the Michael Golden pages I have for $500. And she just could not believe I did that.
She was thinking of the night out on the town. And
yeah, she's like, where did you go? And I was like, I bought this. And she's like, what is that? It's like it's the splash page of the Golden with the helicopter crash. And Yep, Nikki. Yeah, thank you, Nick. So, yeah, exactly. Just paper to buy paper, and so she just did not understand it. So, but you know what? I think that night we went shopping. I bought her a pretty nice pair of boots, if I remember correctly. I think that was that show. She went with me to a couple
you
of
had
New York
better
shows,
have done something like that.
I know. I think it was that show or one of the other New York shows. But I remember we went to a store and she bought a pretty nice price set of boots. So, but again, it just the look on her face. This guy gave me all that money for this piece of paper. So, but this, it just ran. But it's also, here's another good, funny wife thing with this. She would bring up once in a while, like she didn't know who Frank Frazetta was, and she kept calling him Franzetta. You got that Franzetta thing. That's enough for a long time. And she was like, didn't you get that Franzetta thing the other month? And I was like, well, well. So it's just funny. She kept calling him that.
That is.
And again, when this showed up in the mail, it is real. I checked against my other ones. It's the same board and all that other stuff. And she, again, was stunned that it was a very tiny piece of board. With a
Does
tire.
You have 10 though?
I have 10. I have the most, I guess. I don't know. I'm probably not, but I have a lot.
Oh man.
Again, just by sheer luck. And I was told a long time ago by a dealer that if you are going to get stuff to invest, and that you only get blue chip stuff, and that is Jack Kirby, Neil Adams, or Frank Frazetta.
Well, you can't go wrong with either.
No, he's like, those are the 3 blue chip guys, and you will never lose your money.
Yeah, I can't argue with you at all on that.
Nope. And yeah, he's right. I was like, all right, I'll do it. And then I just started getting them. So it worked out, that you put your time and effort in search. And again, this was the only time it massively paid off. And again, I don't know how I came. It just, somebody put it in the wrong category and I got it.
Now, do you have any Neil Adams, out of curiosity? Because I know you don't have any.
No, I do not. No, it just, that one did not work out. No, as much as I would have liked to. Even back then, just Neil stuff was too much. And, I love Neil. I have I was I would garbaging through collecting all of his books in the 80s, all his covers. I have a ton of his books, but I just never, I got to talk to him a number of times. I don't even have a sketch, but I have a few autographs, but nope, I do not have a Neil piece. I used to have a Kirby page. Had it for a long time, but I did trade it a few years ago to Broussard.
Well, that happens.
Mm-hmm. No, it's fine. Oh, okay. I loved Jackson Geis when I was a kid. I loved it. I loved, when he was doing this. He was doing Nick Fury's Shield. I think after that he did like some other Marvel stuff, and he went over and did Superman. I loved that stuff. I loved it. And him with Bob Layton, was the perfect combo. So that run he did in Iron Man was great. They had that Spider-Man issue, that guest appearance, and then the other guy, and Armor Wars and all that stuff. Great stuff. And this page, I have half the issue. And again, it was
the same
another.
Thing. You have several pieces from issue 240 in your CAF gallery.
Yeah, I have half of this issue. And again, it was just by chance. It was an ad in the back of Comics Buyer's Guide. And these were $5 a piece. And I'm not kidding.
Man.
So,
and did you buy all these all at one time? Or
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep, that's all he had. I bought them all. And then the other single page I have from 238 with Rhodey. I got that too. It was this. But I was like, you know what? Let's get as much from this issue. So I've never seen another page from this for sale. I don't know what happened to him, but and Jackson is one of my favorite guys, but one of the few dudes I've never met. I've never met him at a con. He's great about posting all the time on Instagram about good old time comic artists, and he's nice about responding back to me. But I love Jackson, guys. Love his stuff. And again, I'm a huge historian about comics and artworks, and I think I know everything. But he schooled me on something last week. I'm a huge Alex Toth fan. I think I've seen everything. I think I know everything he's done in comics, but I didn't realize he drew an entire issue of the Danny for Dell, 4-color comics. He did a whole issue of the Danny Thomas show.
I wasn't aware of that either.
It's issue 1180. Apparently, it's a very expensive issue. I don't know why. It had a photo cover, but I don't think we'd be hard pressed to find anyone that knows who Danny Thomas is. I know people say in the chat they do, but it's great. You know, it's just pencils and inks of Toth, and he did the entire issue and the inside cover and the inside back cover and the back cover. And I'm pretty picky. I have too many comics, too many old comics. There's nothing. There's stuff I'm looking for, but it never shows up. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go buy it. And I bought it that day. There was one because he was telling me it was really expensive, and I was like, God. And I looked at my price guide. It's $380 and 9.2. I was like, who would want this? And I was like, you know what? So I looked on eBay. There was a nice mid-grade copy I got it for $43, and I got it right then. I bought it right then. And I just got it. It's great. I'm flipping though. I got it Friday. So it's it's nice to when you get those neat tidbits of you can learn something new.
Sure. No,
Yeah.
but I've always loved Geis's work as well.
Yep,
so,
man, I love it. So again, it's as close to realistically not realistic. It's almost there, but it's got that comic booky touch that still looks super duper attractive.
Yeah, Leighton's inks on these pages.
Yeah, and you got the perfect inks. You got Bob ink. It's perfect. Yeah, Bob was the perfect inker back then. It's great. His shine. You got the Leighton shine. That's the only thing you can ask for in Iron Man. You got the Leighton reflectives.
All right, we are actually at the last piece, and I think this is the one that has.
Oh wow! Really? Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
It, right?
All right, Nikki. Here you go. Are you still watching? This is the Nick piece. Okay, so this Nick was doing those lithographs all the time for Dynamic Forces, and he had he was doing reprints of stuff, but he was doing new pieces too. And this is 2002. This is the summer of 2002. The first Spider movie had just come out, and this piece is huge. It's 2.5 boards, and I still have it. So I still have it. I never sold it. It's awesome. It's super cool. I just inked that. Yes. So this is Pat Olive pencils. We were doing it. Hey, Chad, we were doing this. It was for Home Shopping Network. So Nikki was doing pieces to coincide with the DVD release of the first Spider-Man movie for Home Shopping Network. And Nikki would go on there and sell all his stuff and, go on camera and sell everything on when they would do those things back then. And I was being a nudge, and I was like, I need to have my own lithograph. He just said, okay. And we just did it. And so I was already doing stuff with Pat, and Pat's one of the great Spider-Man artists. And I was like, and again, I was being a prick, or maybe not. And I did the layouts for this for Pat. I laid this out, and I was like, let's do the classic, Amazing Spider-Man 14. It's got the first Goblin, first Spidey Hulk crossover, the Green Goblins in the Spider movie, so it works out. And so I laid this out, but because Pat is a million times better artist than I am, he took his genius and he reversed it. I had to go in the opposite direction. He flipped it, made it work, and I mean, just when we have the classic old school broomstick glider, the Goblins on, and they're in the cave like in the book, and the Enforcers are there with Fancy Dan and the Ox and Montana. Was that guy's name? No, I was just I would just ask for stuff. Everyone can say no, but I was always very polite and ask, like, why don't we just do this? And I will say it's a gorgeous piece. I loved it. I for some reason I was way into my textures doing those pumpkin bombs. And if you look at the stalactites in the background, that is my Toth texture. My Alex Toth little dots. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yes. So we're doing this, and Nick had told us that Home Shopping Network is more. They want more autographs to make it more desirable to the buying public. They wanted more autographs. So Ron was sharing a studio with Pat. They lived next to each other. So, and So we brought Ron in to draw Ox and Fancy Dan, I believe. Yeah, he drew those. He penciled those two guys. And then Nick told me they wanted more signatures, not just, Pat and Ron and myself and the colorist. They were going to bring in like Joe Rubenstein ink part of it. I was like, no, there's no effing way it's happening. I'm making this whole thing. That's it. And I don't remember how I worded it to Nick, but I probably was not that blunt. I was like, nope, I'm doing it all. That's it. And we did it. It came out, like I said, it's huge. It's 2.5 boards. Somehow the tape hasn't disintegrated, holding it together. It's still in one piece. Then Nick flew us out for a week after all the lithographs got printed. He flew us out for the week to autograph all of them, and with the remarks, which sounds fun, and it was such a chore because Home Shopping Network wanted this very intricate sketch, and you have to do the same freaking thing on each of the 3,000 pieces. Or no, it wasn't 3. It was whatever it was. It was a lot. We signed a lot of them. I know. I can't remember. Nick might remember the actual number, but and I'm looking. It was Pat couldn't come out right away, so it was me and Ron Friends and the colorist JD that were there that week. So we're doing, and Ron, because Ron is the greatest, he came up with what we would do, and we just used that style, and we just mimicked what he did. And I did a number of them, but again, with my penciling, I'm very slow, and Ron's just pounding these things out, and I was like, oh, great. So I'm doing it, and so we're there for that week, and I love Ron. I love Ron Friend's stuff as a kid. It was, I was fortunate enough to get to ink him. Yeah, yes, Nick, it was a lot of them, and I'm very fortunate that I got to ink some of the guys I just overly adored as a kid. And Ron Friends is one of them. Rick Leonardi was another guy. I got to ink an issue of Spidey 2099, which was incredible.
I love Leonardi's work.
And I put 1,000,000% in that issue because I wanted to ink him like he was inked back in the day. I don't know if I pulled it off, but people seem to dig it. The other guy, I never got to ink anything over there. I loved in the 80s with Kerry Gamble. I got to meet him once for a quick minute at San Diego, but I never got a piece. Even if I got a sketch, I would have inked it. But I love Kerry Gamble, but it didn't happen. So when Ron and Pat Olf would share a studio, anyone who knows Ron, he's a good dude, but he's a ball buster, and he loves busting your chops nonstop. And so that week, I had, because I think Ron and Pat shared a studio for like 10 years or something, or it was a long time. And so Pat showed up at the end of the week to come and do all his sign the pieces. And I was like, man, Ron's been busting my chops all week. And he's like, yep. I go, he squeezed 10 years of teasing you into 7 days. And he did. It was and you know what? I loved every minute of it. Nick was so gracious, and we had us all there. I never will forget that. It was the coolest thing. And Uncle Ron is the absolute greatest guy. And I got to ink 2 issues of Spider-Girl over him. And I got things a little piece, and he's amazing. So it was so cool that we got to happen. Then to top it off of me being even more, just keep asking for stuff. Nick would go on Home Shopping Network to sell this stuff. And why don't I come with you? And he just had me on the show. So I went, and I think if I remember correctly, Nick, I was the very first artist to go on there to sell this stuff without you on camera. And for some, it was Halloween. It's Halloween weekend in 2002. We did this. We flew down to the Home Shopping office in Florida, and I did 3 15-minute segments over like 2 or 3 days. And so I just ballsily just asked him, like, oh, I'm just going on camera. And I did it. And I guess I probably was the first guy. And weirdly enough, a bunch of other comic artists just found it channel surfing. And then I guess everybody started bringing up to Nick about coming on camera. So I guess like Adam Kubert and other guys all just randomly were watching that night. So, and here's another little quick funny story with this. So when I was on camera, they just threw me on screen. Like, just that was it. And they didn't tell me anything. I had an earpiece in my ear. They literally gave me no direction of anything. And so the first shot when I come on, I'm standing behind that price and description item bar on the left. And then I hear in my ears like, John, could you move 2 spaces to the left? And then all of a sudden I'm in frame. And, I'm doing fine. And, we get done filming because it was live. And the PA or whoever comes over and takes my stuff. Like, wow, that was great. That was really good. I'm so glad all that, they were supposed to give me this big tutorial before, and they didn't. And they're like, I was like, what are you talking about? I go, no one talked to me. They're like, what? And so like, they're writing down. I was like, no. I go, don't get the guy in trouble. I go, look, I did fine, right? She's like, yeah. I go, then don't worry about it. I'll be great. And I was being a little too, I didn't want to get this person in trouble. So we did, I did 2 shows with the female host. And then the third show, we actually went out to dinner with that guy, like Nick and I and my buddy Dave all went out to dinner with him. And he was super funny. He's telling us all these crazy stories. So it was all like, we were a little familiar with hanging out. So we went and shot the episode right after that. And he was, not that the woman didn't do a good job, but this guy was asking me stuff. So, here's another little thing. So on that first, and Nick, I don't think Nick got upset too. I don't remember. So on that first one where they didn't give me any direction or tell me anything, the woman asked me how hard it was to do this. I was like, it's no big deal. I do it every day. And apparently that was the worst thing. I should not have said it. They needed me to tell them to get people to realize that this is the rarest item in the world for sale. That, I was supposed to tell them that this is like the most difficult thing in the world and all this stuff. And I just like, I do it every day. It's not a big deal. That was the thing they were not happy about. I was like, and I looked at it, I go, great. Why didn't you tell me that beforehand? And
right,
so
exactly.
That was the only thing that was the only thing they were not happy about. So that was funny.
But you sold while you were live, and that was the thing.
Yeah, no, you're buying pieces. Yeah, no, they and the weird thing is, like, I know if you look now, these are not on eBay anymore. For a long time, you could always find these on eBay. I think these have been gone for a really long time. I have a few left. Nikki was again the most generous dude there is in comics, and he gave me a very nice amount of comps. So I have some left. I think I have 7 of these left. I think so.
And you've got the original.
Yeah, I still have the original. So
and you got abused by Ron's friends for several days.
Man, I would have kept doing it. It was fine. I loved it. He's just very old school, and he was. I'm sure Nick remembers he was literally busting my chops about anything I was doing. It was nonstop. So it's just, but it was fine. It was great.
That's his
I loved it.
Personality, though. I mean, he's just.
Yep.
He's very sharp-witted, and
yes,
yeah. I've thought about doing an interview with him, but I felt like I would just get cut up the whole time, or I couldn't keep up with him.
You know what? I haven't seen him. I hadn't seen him in a really, 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 really long time. But I haven't even talked to him. I know he's doing okay. I always ask Ron I always ask Pat hey, talk to him. They still live in the same area. So I always make sure.
He was at Heroes too.
I know he still does shows, but I haven't been at a show with him in a very long time. So, but yeah, he's great. I love him.
Well, man, this has been good. This has been
this is a long show. I really
we usually 2 hours go by pretty quick.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I was like, there's no way we can talk about his shows and I'm actually shocked my daughter hasn't ran in here again and
she's been very patient.
Tell me about the Hulk. Tell me about she watches that Spider-Man cartoon they have now with Miles and Gwen and Peter. Yeah, she loves it, and she makes me run around the house. She's very concerned about the rhino stealing, and he needs to be caught. So we have to go and find the rhino and Gabi. And she likes to be Ghost Spider. And she has these little tiny stuffed animals that are kind of ball shapes. And she knows that she makes those their pumpkin bombs. And I have to throw them at her.
Well, I'm glad.
And I did not make her watch that show. She found it herself. So it was not me trying to force her to like comics. She randomly found it.
No, well, that's awesome. So I wanted to show everybody your CAF gallery so that people need to go over there. John's a premium member, so you can find him underneath the premium list. Or I put the link in the chat earlier. I don't know if I put it in the show description, but I'll make sure I include it in there. So you got to check out the Michael Goldens, because definitely I can tell those are some of your pride and joy pieces in there, as well as the Protasios.
Yep.
And every once in a while, Johnny, you have pieces for sale every now and again. I know you had that.
Well, I've never put anything for sale up here before. That piece you are pointing on, that Spidey Venom piece, is that I just put that up yesterday, and I was shockingly put it up. So yeah, that is it's on one large board. It says in the description it's on one full size 11x17 board, and these were 2 trading cards Derek Robertson penciled in 1994 that I guess were computer colored or painted, so it was just pencils. And Derek just when he was done, he misplaced them, so he just found the original this year, and he got a hold of me. He's like, "Hey, you should ink these," and I was like, "Yeah." So he sent me, and they're blue line. They are. I didn't come over blue line, but I made sure to put a zillion% into it. So you get 2 cards on one board, and it's a great looking Spidey. He's got it's definitely the old way Derek was penciling, and you got a killer Venom. And there is Zipatone on that piece, so everything is old school, hand done. Nothing is I did not chintz on anything, or whatever. I did not hold back on anything, and everything is on my hand. And I have 2 more I will be doing probably in a few weeks or something like that. He sent me a Punisher card and a Wolverine card, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'll put them all on the same board. So they're they're nice looking. So I mean, again, I rarely put up anything, so it's up there. So if you want to dig it, check it out. You can click it. I think you can get a full size when you click on it, so you can see a full size. But they're both on one board, and each card is 8x6, something like that. Pretty cool. Yeah,
you got to get them into that. You're a premium member. I have to teach you how to put these into the classified, so you get the PR.
We couldn't even get my kid. Let's slow down. I couldn't even get the stupid camera to work. So I saw everyone writing the thing. How I get it.
I will shoot you an email after the show and outline how to get those in, because if you put other stuff up for sale, if you put it into the classifieds, then it kind of goes out to everybody who's got keyword set and all that stuff. So when you're selling things, you'll get more eyeballs on it than the way you did it here. I will help you.
Yeah, that would be very nice. I don't know. I mean, you helped me put up that other piece the other month.
That is true.
Auction.
Well, during Comic Art Live, yeah.
Yeah, I shockingly made it through that. I don't know how I made it actually work, but I did.
Well, if we can figure out your camera problems, we can have you back.
And I know what it is. It's always the same thing. And I did all the settings and stuff, but I'm sure it's some stupid thing I didn't click. And everyone can make fun of me. It's fine. I am not good at computers. It's a miracle we got this to work. Well, that's why I don't ink digitally, because I know it'd be a complete disaster.
Well, when the show ends, give me 5 minutes. I bet we can figure it out. I have an idea on what to try here. But John, this has been a lot of fun. I'm whether
yes, thank you. I hope I was entertaining enough for everybody that was watching.
I believe so. We got to look at some great artwork today as well.
Yes.
And
I made sure it was a very good wide variety of styles and stuff, and so I made sure I didn't want to show off like 5 golden peaches, because people just go click on that stuff, but I wanted to make sure it's a good story with everything.
Nope, you did. You aced it, and I'm sure you've been around enough. I mean, honestly, like you said, you've been doing this almost professionally for 30 years now, and collecting for even longer. So you've got easily, we could have you back another time, and you could fill us in with even more stories. So I appreciate it.
I think there's a decent amount. I don't know if I haven't. I tried to pick these ones I knew were going to be the most entertaining stories, but I'm sure there's a few more.
There's always a few more.
Yes.
Plus, I'll tell you, we always love, because when I had Marco on, he talked about some of it. And Jason, they both talked about the stories from those days, the Top Cow days. And
I mean, and that's
we love to hear those things too.
I've got countless stories about doing pages, and that was a thing with oh, thank you, CJ. When Joe and I were roommates, we did an endless amount of pages for all of the 12 years I lived with him, with Marco, and just the insanity of getting stuff done. And it's just it was crazy. So we'd have ridiculous amount of stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
well,
I've got a lot of them.
Stanley had asked a question earlier too about what were the grails in your collection. I forgot to highlight that. He's asking, yes, you can answer that one, and then also this one here about anything that you're still looking for before we sign off tonight.
Yeah, I just still looking to put together, obviously, that golden story from Batman Family 19 with the white bat and all the snow. So, I look for that stuff, but again, most of the stuff I look for, it's good and bad that it never shows up. It's bad because I'd love to have it, but it's good because, just if you don't have the money, then you're gonna be just angry about it forever. Like, oh, I miss that piece. But kind of just that stuff. As much as I'd love to get more Kevin Maguire pages from Justice League, there's another guy on CAF who seems to scoop them all up. So that's cool. I have my 4. Yeah, I have 4 pages. So that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay. I lost that itch years and years and years ago where you gotta get everything, and maybe I can go sell some more blood tomorrow. I'll get a couple more bucks and I can afford it. So I'm fortunate with what I got, and I can't complain. What was the other question?
Grails. I mean, what out of your collection, what would you consider as grails?
I don't know.
Or your favorite? Which is the most favorite piece?
I think I mentioned it in some of the stuff like that Spider-Man sketch by Kirk. That I just always loved it when I got it, and some of the golden pages, the Maguire head page with Guy and Mr. Miracle.
I can see why
that one was great.
Very high at the in your list. That's
Maguire
piece to die for.
Yeah, and like that Captain America page he did. Again, I got to pick it. He has a bunch of pages there, and I was like, "Oh, this is a full body shot." That one, you never ever see those pages come up for sale. I don't know who hasn't, but I mean, even on CAF, there's only a few. I mean, it's really just not many at all.
I think a lot of the art goes to I think people who aren't necessarily regular collectors, right? I mean, Maguire had a huge fan base, and you'd have to imagine that when people would go up to see him just to have their comic signed or something, people are picking up pages, but that might be like the only page they ever pick up. And so, we're not going to see them on CAF, at least, for a very long time. They're not going to be on the market, but that's okay. I mean, I think that's cool when an artist gets that popular with a particular series that people will pick up art. I mean, I think that's a cool thing. It's somebody who really wants to walk away with something really important. And I think Maguire, he's kind of got, he certainly had that following back in the day, but even now, I mean, I've seen him a few shows, people just really admire him and for the work that he's done, and he still does. So, but that's the curious thing, right? I mean, there's a lot of artwork out there like that pops up on the market every now and again, and it's always exciting when you see something
it's few and far between. I mean, any of the Maguire Justice League pages, I know there's a guy or two on here that they scoop them all up. So it's far in between that stuff comes up. But that was his best. Still think that was his greatest stuff, was those first 24 Justice League issues and those first 2 issues of Cap. Great. It just, that was primo stuff.
Agreed. All right, everybody. Well, listen, we're going to call it a night, but John, don't sign off until we get the chance to talk in the green room a little bit more. But listen, everybody, I appreciate you tuning in tonight.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, everyone, for putting up with my constant blabbering. So, thank you.
We didn't get to see it, but that's all right. It's so just so everybody knows, I am back on my regular schedule with Tuesday nights now. Thanks to John, I'm ready to kind of get the interview thing going again here on the channel. I took a couple months off, but I'm glad to be able to do this on a regular basis now that I'm sort of settled here in Florida. So thank you, John, for doing this, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight.
I was trying to make sure I got the most people watching because I promoted the crap out of it today. So I was really trying to make sure we got the most views possible.
We had a good turnout, especially again, always about consistency. So when I hadn't done these since early July, I've kind of figured we'd need a little goose to get it back up and running, but we did good tonight. So thank you.
Yep.
All right, everybody.
Yep. Thank you
Have a nice
very
night.
much. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thank you.